What is up, everybody? You guys are listening and watching Any Given Sunday, the Tuesday edition for Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. I'm your host, Manny Brown, joined as always by my co-host, Manny. I'm Manny.
You're Manny.
Are my co-host, Josh Rodriguez. Josh, what is good? It's Tuesday. It's going to be a wacky day. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, I am Josh. I'm not Manny. I am Josh.
Yes.
But I'm doing well. Giants called it down last night, but it's okay. I actually expected it. Not gonna lie.
Hey man, a new era in the Meadowlands for the G-men. Good competitive showing against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, this is the lows that I've reached as a Jet fan, that I applaud competitive football. Like teams that like are just competitive, that just play close games. I'm just like, wow, look at that. That is awesome. I mean, listen, I'm a fan of a team that's like played like 3 close games in like a year. So,
listen, it'll get better. Zach's on his way.
Yeah, it's all gas, no brakes, man.
Zach.
It's all gas, no brakes, man. We're just going down that highway to hell with all gas, no brakes.
The honeymoon's over.
Listen, the honeymoon's been over. I don't
know. I think it's officially over. I don't think it's been over. I think people were kind of still kind of like, maybe.
Well, because people were giving them the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah, the benefit of the doubt's gone now. There's no more benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
that's
it's like, honestly, it's the coaching and the personnel decisions. Like, we've got 2 young rookie studs at D ends, but we don't play them, or not play them nearly enough as we should. And I get they're rookies and they got to learn the playbook or the system or whatever. Whatever. Play the players that produce. And he doesn't do that. The whole Denzel Mims thing has turned a lot of Jet fans off, because now it's like, just cut him. Like, he's just wasting a roster spot at this point.
Right.
I don't want to rekindle the Denzel Mims thing. I mean, just everything that he's done. And then just some of his press conferences, like we were unlucky. Robert, you lost 27-12. Like, there's nothing luck about it. You guys made horrible penalties.
Right.
Corey Davis made an inexcusable penalty that cost him 15 yards. No Jet fan saw it because CBS was having issues. But, I mean, like what are we talking about? Like, bad luck. Like, come on, man. Come on.
What do you want to say?
It's stuff like that it's just like, dude, I'm not even saying I want like the fake tough guy fire and brimstone thing, but like, just don't lie. You know the New York fan. You can't lie and BS the New York fan.
You can't. But I also found, like, with New York fans, like, no matter what you say after a loss, it doesn't matter. Like, you will get ripped some way or somehow.
True, but I think your best bet is just to be honest. Don't insult their intelligence and be oh yeah, we gave up 35 points and we lost 35-7, but we really competed. Did you? What? Like, where's the guy that was in San Francisco that was running up and down the sidelines, that showed all that fire and energy? Not that makes a great coach, because again, that's all overblown.
Yeah.
But like, we've seen nothing, none of that. It's just all been fake cliches and T-shirts and stadium steps. I'm like, just win. How about just win?
Well, you got your quarterback now. You got your quarterback back. You don't have your quarterback.
Every Jet fan, or a lot of Jet fans, I should say that. Like, oh, Zach is back now. Like, do we know what Zach Wilson is? Like, let's be fair. Like, like, this is not like we're getting Tom Brady back.
Right.
Like, we're getting Zach Wilson, who is at best a mystery right now.
Right.
We don't know. Like, so how do we know that he even makes any of this better?
It's true. It's a good point.
Listen, I know quarterbacks can hide a lot of deficiencies, but I don't know, man.
He's got weapons.
I don't know if he's got weapons, but it doesn't matter if we have weapons if we don't use them, right?
True. Well, listen, I'm excited for Zach to be back. I like Zach a lot.
I mean, from what I've seen, I like the kid. He's got potential. He's got star written on him.
Yeah.
If he plays up to his potential, to his pick value, slot value, but I can't sit here and tell you that, oh yeah, Josh, that Zach is back. The whole world is the order and balance to the universe has been restored. Like, no,
everyone's on notice. Zach is back. The AFC is on notice.
Listen, I hope so, man.
Look out, Buffalo. Look out, Miami.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that's I think the biggest thing that's turned me off is this guy's a defensive coach, and the defense has gotten progressively worse. Like, the defense is worse now than it ever was under Adam Gase.
Yeah, I think that's my most disappointing thing with him too, as well, because I watched the Jets play, And defensively, I just can't point to a thing where I'm like, well, they have that going for them.
Like usually if you hire like an offensive coach, you expect the offense to get better. Like the Giants, they hired Brian Daboll. The offense is better. It's better. It is absolutely better than it's been the last few years. Now it helps to having a healthy, Saquon, but the offense is better. Even you could say the offense is better.
It's better. It still has its issues, and I think those issues are Daniel Jones, even though he was running for his life yesterday. Right. But it's not as sloppy. I'll say that. It looks more put together, and I think the
game like an NFL offense. Amazing.
Yeah, right? Exactly. It looks like an NFL offense. Exactly.
Who knew?
Yeah.
That you can have an NFL offense in 2000?
Yeah, MetLife is struggling. That air conditioner of the stadium is just horrible football.
That airport hangar of a stadium, that Air Force base, like literally,
man, it's awful.
And listen, I've seen some fans, some Jets haters out there. Yes, there are such a thing as Jets haters out there. Well, I shouldn't say Jets haters. Jets. I don't even want to know what the other word would be.
There's not Nick haters. There's just people who like to laugh at Nick fans.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I would equate it. So these folks reached out to me yesterday. He's like, "Oh, isn't it miserable as a Jet fan that Giant Stadium was rocking last night? They call it Giant Life. Giant Life Stadium was rocking last night, and Jets games feel like a morgue." I'm like, "Have you watched the Jets? Do you watch the Jets product?
It's awful.
Like, come on, man. Who would go to that to cheer and be raucous and energized?
Yeah.
Like, not to mention, you guys are playing a nationally televised Monday Night Football. You're always going to get a bigger crowd for the national TV
and the
games.
Cowboys are in town.
Prime time, and the Cowboys, So, but listen, MetLife was right. Listen, I say what you want to say about the stadium and how it looks. I never doubt that when they're getting a good product, the fans are going to be loud and raucous.
Right.
But I can't get on Jet fans. Like, look at what they have to. What have they been given for the last? I mean, they just came. First of all, they got Adam Gase for 2 years, and now they've got this damn motivational speaker, masquerading as an NFL coach.
Tony Robbins with a headset.
Fucking Tony Robbins here, like jeez. Listen, can you tell I'm frustrated? Can you tell I'm just like at my wit's end?
Come on, you didn't expect much from this team this year.
Bro, I just expected competitive football. We have a more talented team this year than we've had the last. You can make the case the Jets are more talented this year than they've been the last 2 or 3 years.
I can make the case the Jets are more talented than the New York Giants, and the Giants have a better record right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass or trying to ride the Daboll train, right? Because I'm not saying Brian Daboll is going to make the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying that look at the Giants respectfully. Not trying to knock or anything, but you look at the Giants roster and you look at the Jets roster. The Jets have infinitely more talent than the Giants. And if you've never watched football before and you watched those two teams play this past weekend, who's the better football team?
Oh, Giants.
The Giants.
Yeah.
And that's for the folks that say coaching doesn't matter, you need talent, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. If the Giants played the Jets today, I think the Giants win by double digits. Actually, I won't say that much because the Giants have a hard time scoring the football, but I think they win like a well-controlled defensive football game.
Yeah. You know what the Giants would do? The Giants would steal the game from the Jets because the Jets would just make crucial penalties on third down. Right. They'd give up big plays in the secondary. They play Jets football. That's Jets football. Big miscues, communication errors. Right? Like, how are you a defensive coach? Again, Robert Saleh is a defensive guru. That's all I heard. Defensive guru, the captain of the number one defense in the NFL for the last couple of years or whatever in San Francisco, yada, yada, da, right? And you have a team that consistently week in and week out makes defensive miscues after defensive miscues, defensive communication errors.
Yeah.
How?
I don't know. And then you saw the Jets players getting frustrated with the defensive coaches on the sideline as well, calling out their communication. And when the players are calling out the Jets coaching staff communication, that's not because it's not like you're calling them out for like them getting in your face. You're calling them out because they're not communicating to you. I'm not really sure I've ever heard that before.
And the schematics of it. Like, why are we rushing? 7 guys. Why are we putting 7 guys on the line when we have the worst offensive line in football? We
Right.
could get to them with 4. Drop these guys back. We struggle in coverage. Our safeties are shit. So you would probably think, hey, let's get some linebackers out there, or let's drop some more guys in coverage just to kind of help out. No, not the genius Robert Saleh. No. We gotta blitz, 7 guys,
right,
for whatever reason.
3-4
consistently.
Well, you guys are in a 4-3.
We're in a 4-3. We're in a 4-3.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. How it is with a 4-3. You don't get those exotic blitzes that you do on the 3-4. So it just kind of already defeats the purpose of trying to blitz or being a blitz heavy defense in a 4-3 for me. I know some people disagree with that, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say. I've just been left. And again, I know, and I've had people say like, "Oh, what did you really expect? The Jets were, I'm like, no one is saying that the Jets should be 3-0 at the top of the AFC, competing with the Chiefs. Like, no one. I don't think any realistic Jet fan had that. But you just want to see competitive football. Like, you want to see a team that goes out there and competes every Sunday and gives you a product that you could believe. At least when you leave the game, you're like, all right, we should have won that game if it wasn't for this play. Not like we should have won the game if it wasn't for like these 5 things that all happened and we still got blown out.
Yeah,
like, no.
You lose 27-24 to the Bengals because Joe Burrow was great at the end of the game.
Exactly. I don't think any Jet fan is as upset today as they would have been otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like the same script. It's like it's been 20 games of the Robert Saleh regime, and it's the same thing. You've seen the same thing for 20 games. There's been no natural progression. Like, oh wow, this team last year did those things, but now this year they're not doing that. No, they're seeing the same exact thing, if not worse. And the excuse last year was they didn't have talent. That was the excuse, and everybody kind of, all right, they don't have talent. They don't have talent, but it's like, what's the excuse this year?
So you think Saleh's officially in the hot seat?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Woody Johnson or JD because who the hell knows with those guys, especially Woody Johnson. But I mean, I think he should be.
Yeah,
I think he should be. I mean, again, I ask anybody. Have you seen in 20 games? Have you seen enough to show you that Robert Saleh is a good coach? And this is an attack on him personally. I think he's a good guy. I think he's smart. I think his story is incredible. You love that it's a minority getting an opportunity to coach, which Lord knows we need more of, right? But like, this is just being fair and judging the product that you have in front of you, the product that you've been given for a year and 3 games.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not been that impressive.
Yeah, not yet. I don't think they've won a game where you could look at the game and be like, all right, the coaching staff kind of willed them. Like with Dable, the first 2 games, you can already say that about the Giants. And
the Cincinnati game last year. That's the Mike White game.
Mike White game. Well, you could argue it was Mike White.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could also argue it was Mike LaFleur.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could argue that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got creative and took a marginal quarterback and made him a superstar for 1 game. Right? You could argue that.
It was Mike White.
You could argue that.
I remember that.
Yeah. We had our Jeremy Lin moment.
You did. You did.
Oh my God. I'm just fed up, man. I'm just fed up.
I get it.
Like literally every week we just watch the same garbage week in and week out. And watch this weekend. Like, we're going to lose, and we're going to lose badly in Pittsburgh to Mitch Trubisky.
No, Jets are winning. I'm telling you right now, the Jets are winning.
Lips to God's ears.
Jets are winning. Jets are winning.
We're going to lose. I think we're going to lose. First of all, historically, we never win in that stadium.
I know,
never.
but Pittsburgh's bad, man. Pittsburgh's bad.
I don't think they're bad. I just think they got a bad quarterback.
They're bad. I mean, their offense is disgusting. You know what would happen? This would be so Jets. Zach Wilson comes back, throws 2 first half touchdown passes. They lead 17-3 at halftime. Then Kenny Pickett comes in the second half, and Kenny Pickett throws 3 touchdowns in the second half.
Listen, I'm nodding my head because that is exact. That's like Baker Mayfield's debut all over again.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Baker Mayfield never looked better as a quarterback than against the Jets. His first fucking start.
Yep.
Cleveland is rocking. Baker Mayfield looks like a superstar.
Did he catch a 2-point conversion, or was that a touchdown? I know he caught some.
I think he caught a 2-point.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. I was like, this motherfucker's catching touchdowns too. Like
only against the Jets, right? Only against the Jets. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see it. I mean, listen, nothing is off the table with this team besides winning. Nothing is off the table. Nothing is. If you tell me the Jets lose 38-37. on a 2-point conversion to win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could happen.
Yeah.
If you tell me that the Jets lose 45-5, they don't even score. They don't even score a touchdown, a field goal, and a safety.
They managed to get a safety somehow.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, but them winning outright.
I think they do.
No, them even covering.
What's the spread? I'm looking at the spread right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. The spread is Steelers -3.5. Come on, they can cover a field goal.
Yeah, they can cover. Listen, man, that's how down I am.
Game, man.
That's how down I am on this team right now.
I get it.
I tried to be positive. I tried to, bro. I just feel like again. I'm just through with the excuses because what's the excuses?
There is none.
Matter of fact, I was already on some Jet Spaces this past weekend. I'm like, listen, if you're Woody Johnson, I'm on the phone right now with Sean Payton. Like, listen, it's a blank check. What do you want? You want stock in Johnson & Johnson? You can have it.
Wow. It's not a bad idea, man.
You have a young quarterback. I don't know what Sean Payton thinks of Zach Wilson.
I mean, he's very similar built to Drew. They're both short quarterbacks, big arms. Well, Drew's arm wasn't actually as big as Zach's.
Right. But everything else is comparable,
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, listen, you don't want to go to Dallas. You really want to work for Jerry, or do you want to come to the Jets and be a savior? And basically let him run the franchise. Like, listen, you could bring in your own guys. Screw this Joe Douglas guy. He either takes a back seat or he could leave. Like, whatever. That's what I would do. I'd throw the bag at Sean Payton. I'd make him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Does he want to coach again?
Yeah.
He does? Okay. I didn't know that.
Well, he's pretty much said it. Like, how some guys that kind of like him and I'm happy in what I'm doing. Like, no, he's pretty much said that he's come back to coach. Although I don't buy the like it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to Dallas, though.
I don't either. I don't buy that either.
Because why would he go to Dallas?
Because it's
besides his history there, and it's the Cowboys. But why would he go? First of all, no big coach is taking that job unless Jerry Jones steps back. I just don't see it. Why would Sean Payton take that job and play second fiddle to Jerry Jones?
Yeah,
he's not doing it. He's not doing it.
I mean, that'd be enticing, New York.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, listen, to me, I think you got to try. I think you got to try to get him. Right.
All right. Well, let's finish the season first, Manny. All right. It's 3 games in.
Listen, we're done. I'm calling it now. The Jets are done. The Jets are winning 5 games this year.
I mean, the Jets are winning 5 games. I think the over-under was like 6. Come on.
Listen, I was realistic enough and I said, okay, I think this season is about the maturation of this coaching staff and the quarterback. I think that this team has to at the very least, play competitive football in the month of December. I'm not saying they got to make the playoffs, but I think they go into December at least with a shot, at least a faint hope at making a wild card. Yeah, I said the low for this team is 7 wins and the high for this team is 9 wins. I don't think that's being real. I don't think that's being ridiculous. 9-8, 7-10. I don't think that's being crazy. With the talent that we've amassed, the players that you have on this roster, like I think they should be at the very least 7-10.
Well, I mean, I guess a lot of it also depends on Zach's progress and where he's at right now. I mean, to be fair, because if I don't mean to cut you off, but what if he doesn't play well, and you have all the issues with Zach with Robert Saleh? Then where does that put you? I don't know. I don't know what the quarterback class is like coming in. Because I think now with quarterbacks, it's like you don't really get. Daniel Jones is an exception where he played out the whole damn contract. I mean, you look at what Arizona did with Josh Rosen. Dude didn't even play. And then they had Kyler Murray right there and they took him.
And I agree with that sentiment, by the way. I forget who. I think it's Parcells. You just keep taking quarterbacks until you hit. Especially now with the rookie scale. Remember when quarterbacks used to get paid like $40 million?
Yeah.
Like now it's like a rookie scale. You're on a rookie contract. Like, of course, you take as many shots as you want. Matter of fact, after a year, if you're kind of uneasy with this guy, like, I'm not saying draft the one in the first round.
No,
but if you find a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round that you like, why not?
Exactly. And that's how you build a Legion of Boom, because you're not paying for your quarterback. That's how you build what the Jets had with Mark Sanchez. You can build a defense, you get some free agents.
Listen, I don't want to make this a Jet-centric show. We need to move on. But
okay, let's move on.
But I'm just saying that I've just not been impressed so far, man. And again, the scholarship is over with Robert Saleh. I need
Yeah.
to see more, man. Again, not enough with the quotes, enough with the motivational talk, enough with the t-shirts, enough with the receipts. The receipts, listen, win games. Now
Yeah.
you can talk to me about receipts and all that. I'll tell you this. How about winning 2 games in a row?
Yeah.
Just win 2 games in a row. I would throw a parade if the Jets won 2 games in a row.
It's
dead
possible,
ass, bro. Dead ass.
Man, I think you're a little. I think you're in your feelings a little bit after that last game.
Oh man, maybe you're right.
I think you're a little bit in your feelings.
All right, let's move on. How do you
on.
feel about your Giants, man? How do you feel about your Giants?
I think
you're 2-1.
Yeah.
The Dable honeymoon is officially on. Everybody loves Dable. Fat coaches rule. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? What's your? You are I would say a very down to earth Giant fan.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the 2022 Giant season so far?
I think it's gonna be one of those seasons where, the first couple of weeks there's like everyone's kind of riding high because of what Dable brought to the table. They do have the Bears next week, so that's a very winnable game. Wouldn't shock me if they win that game. Wouldn't shock me to lose that game either. So there's a possibility they can be 3-1. But after that, Green Bay, Baltimore, Jacksonville, the tide's going to turn soon. There's going to be a stretch in the season where they lose like 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8, something like that. And I think by the end of the season, you're going to see a lot of frustrated Giants fans. And I think everyone's going to turn their attention to A, the offensive line, and B, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones he played well last night for, what the offensive line didn't do, I guess you can say. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I don't think he's a quarterback you can rely on going forward if you want to make some serious noise in a division or in the league at all. I think right now is as good as any Giant fan is going to feel about the team going forward. I mean, we see teams get off the hot starts all the time, and fan bases are really excited about it and all that stuff. And then by the end of the year, it's as if that start didn't even happen. And I think that's what's going to happen this year. They're not a good football team. They're not. The defense is okay, but the offense, it looks better this year. It looks like a professional offense, but it's still not good. They struggled to score points against the Panthers last week. They struggled to score points against the Cowboys this week, which, by the way, credit to the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense has been really good this year, so it's not like they're a bad defense. I mean, in Tennessee, they were shut out in the first half, really, and then they kind of went on a little bit of a roll in the second half. But outside of the second half in Tennessee, I haven't seen this offense really put the ball in the end zone at all. So for me, I don't know how they're going to score points. And then when you start playing teams like Green Bay, and Philadelphia, and Baltimore, to me, those are games you're going to lose by double digits. So I think, the best, kind of opposite of what's going on with the Jets. I think the Jets can probably turn it around a little bit and look better down the road and maybe finish on a high note. Whereas I feel like the Giants peaked way too early, at the beginning of the season. And I think we've already seen the peak of what this team is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think they're better coached. I do think the offense is better this year, even though they still have a glaring hole at quarterback with Daniel Jones. He's just not that good. We can agree with that. But listen, I think Saquon being healthy finally is a big plus for them. I think the defense is much improved. I think the O-line, while it's still not great, it's improved.
Yesterday was a bad night for them, but as a whole so far within 3 games, it's been better.
But they're also playing DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons, two of the best defensive players in the league. And, listen, when you're a marginal at best offensive line, you're going to struggle.
Right.
And so I wasn't surprised by yesterday's outcome, but even yesterday, I don't think the offensive line yesterday was I think it was, obviously it didn't play well, but I don't think it was just oh my God, this is just not competitive. This wasn't Bengals in the Super Bowl where it was just
no,
just a joke.
Right.
I think that they would, the offensive line is what it is. Listen, the Giants still have holes in the offensive line, but I think it's definitely better. Listen, I think if you're a Giant fan, I think it's different than the Jets, right? Where I think that this season is just about just don't be a disaster. Just don't be an absolute unwatchable garbage, right?
Lose competitively.
Right. I think that this year is very much what it was for the Jets last year, where it's listen, it's the first year, new coach, new GM, knew everything, right? So we got to give this guy time to settle in. So if you go 4-13, but you're competitive, you show signs of life, you show signs that you're growing as an organization, as a team, I think most Giants fans would take that. I think most Giants fans would take 5-6 wins this year, and I think would be like, okay.
I mean, I think if you would ask me at the beginning of the season, maybe, but I think getting off to a 2-0 start, possibly a 3-1 start, I don't think by the end of the year, I think that tone's going to change. And I think you're going to see a lot of disappointed Giants fans. So you know how fans are, man, especially New York fans.
Yeah, I know.
About a dream where it's like, we're 3-1, we're 1 game behind the Eagles, we could do this. Like, come on, man. Like, that's going to happen. I know that's going to happen.
Yeah. The other thing that doesn't help is that you're in a weaker NFC too. So
yeah,
there's that belief that, well, the NFC is weak. You can make the playoffs in the NFC as opposed to the AFC, right? You know, whatever.
Right.
So I think that kind of hurts the perception, I guess, of the season if they like falter down the stretch or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. But I still think that if you're a Giant fan and like, look at me trying to talk about the Giants. No, I'm just being realistic. Like I think just the way you asked me what was my realistic expectation about the Jets, I think the Jets came in with a lot more hype, a lot more kind of like, okay, the Jets should at least be.
What do you think of the Jets make the playoffs? Like a surprise team, a dark horse team.
Yeah, like I think I didn't go that far, but like I told you, I thought at best if everything went well, I thought 9-8,
right?
Good, like baseline year going forward. You go into next year, and like next year's the year where the Jets really pop. You know, I thought with the Giants, I'm like, listen, 5-12, you know, or
6-11,
5-12, 6-11,
right?
You know, that's a good season for the Giants. I don't think any Giant fan, especially with the quarterback, with the questions at quarterback, like I don't think any Giant fan can be upset at 5-12.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this whole season was about Daniel Jones, right? And then I think the weird thing is like we all kind of knew what our answer was with Daniel Jones. Right. So it's like we're going into the season like knowing that like this guy's not him. It's like what are we doing here?
Right.
So it's kind of a wasted season, I guess, in some sort of way, but also not because now you have a new coach who's setting the tone and setting expectations and setting the culture going forward. But to me, I think we peaked in the first 2 games of the season, really, maybe the first 4, because I think they beat Chicago this week. So 3-1. After that, you know, they're going to finish the season 3
and even Chicago's improved. You know, listen, outside of a dud against Green Bay, you know, which is their arch nemesis, and they're always losing.
Chicago could come into MetLife and beat the Giants. Like it wouldn't shock me either way.
Yeah. So that's at best a pick'em game. You know.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because with a team like the Giants, it's like, what's a realistic expectation when you're a team that's been bad for so long?
Right.
Similar to the Jets, although I would say the Jets have more talent and had a little bit more higher expectations than I say the Giants. But, you know, I do think that the expectations for the Jets got a little bit like people were like, oh yeah, they should be the second best team in the. I'm like, slow down. Let's get to 8-9 wins, and then we could talk about playoffs and, you know, all that stuff. You know,
I think a lot of football heads, like realistically, I think they overrate. I wouldn't say overrate, but there's a lot of hype around Zach Wilson. I think a lot of people were expecting him to be, I wouldn't say the next big thing, but expecting him to be a solid quarterback for a lot of years. And when you hear a lot of analysts talk about him, it's kind of like, yeah, it's going to happen. Like, it's not like if. You know, you talk about Daniel Jones, it's like, oh, maybe. But when they talk about Zach Wilson, it's almost like, when?
Well, I would argue out of the rookie class last year, right, which all of them struggled to varying degrees, but they all struggled.
Yeah.
Like, out of everybody, they all had, like, I would say Justin Fields had the lowest of lows. And I would say Zach Wilson had the highest of highs. Like, I don't think any rookie quarterback last year had the game that Zach had against the Titans.
No.
Where he just looked like a god in waiting. Right. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't even think Trevor Lawrence had that type of game.
No, Trevor Lawrence didn't. I mean, he looks better this year, but last year he didn't have any game like that at all.
Right. So that's what I think has increased a lot of Zach Wilson's hype is that, you know, a lot of people kind of feel like, yo, this dude, like when he's on, you see it, right? You see flashes of it. Yeah, man. I don't know. I hope so. I hope that all the analysts are right. I hope you're right. I hope everybody's right. I think it's too early. I haven't made a full determination yet on Zach Wilson. yet. I think I still need to see more before I kind of fully buy in.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm taking the cautious approach because I overhyped Darnold. Like I was the Darnold guy through and through. I loved him
I
at
liked him
USC.
too, man.
And yeah, I got snake bit on that one. So
That's
taking
right.
more of the measured approach with Zach Wilson. But hey, listen, if he is that guy, he is that guy.
Right.
I think the thing that's going to hurt the Giants though is I think they're going to be too competitive to end up at the top of the draft to end up with a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud.
Yeah, but they have draft picks. I think they got one from Chicago.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do have 2 first-round picks next year, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think they can move up.
Yeah,
and possibly put themselves in position. Who knows? But
right.
we'll see. That's a conversation for another day. But listen, I think if you're a Giant fan, I think you have to be happy with what you've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, I think Giant fans need to temper expectations and be a little realistic here. The Bears are coming in, might go 3-1, but then it's going to get tough. It's going to like we're not beating the Packers, not beating the Ravens. I mean, if they do, then we're having a different conversation. But just prepare for rough times ahead. That's all.
True.
I feel like I'm the Fed talking about raising inflation. It's coming, guys.
It's coming.
Rough times ahead.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Tough times ahead indeed. All right, let's end with the local talk and just kind of look at week 3 as a whole. Anything that stood out to you week 3 before we kind of go into each game?
I had this. Yeah. So for me, the Bills, right? It's kind of like it reminded me of our conversations we had last year about the Bills, where it's like, I'm not completely sold on them for some reason. And it's like, I can't really explain why. And then when you see them struggle against some other teams, like, oh, that's why. It's because like they're playing like backyard football. And it's like their offense is explosive at times, but it's also like really unorganized. And it seems very sloppy and it's like unreliable. And, I don't have the football acumen to kind of put my finger on it and explain to you why it's happening. I think it's a lack of a run game. It's almost like, how we talk about offenses being boring. It's almost like the Bills kind of like they never get into I formation, just running down your throat. I mean, they don't have that in their package, and it's like I don't know. It's just it becomes like if they don't have like that playground game going, you have a defense like Miami that can kind of stifle that. It's like where do they go to? They're explosive, but there's just something about them that just I don't know, man. I do think they're the best team in football and. Obviously, they're contenders to win the Super Bowl, but it's just hard for me to be sold on them sometimes.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. You know me. I've had this talk with you, and it's not because I'm a Bills hater. I'm a Jets fan. Right. I think that I'm with you. There's something missing with the Bills that I just can't put my finger on it. And even they're the best. This explosive offense. They're the best team in football. I'd even just hold off on that too. Like I think they have the highest upside of any team in football.
They're the sexiest.
Yeah, they have the highest upside. They're the Instagram model of football. Like,
right.
They look good, and then it's like you get the chick in the kitchen and she can't make a scrambled egg to save her life. You know what I mean? Like she can't. Whatever. Like I there's something missing with the Bills, and I don't know what. And like you said, I don't know how to put my finger on it. I don't know if it is the lack of running game. Josh Allen still has moments where you just
it's a dumb turnover,
dumb turnovers, dumb. To me, he's still a little too reckless with the football sometimes. Yeah, he's got a lot of Brett Favre in him.
Yeah,
where he's just gonna
that with the Brady's or the Aaron Rodgers of the world, even the Russell Wilsons when he was with Seattle. Like you don't get that. Like with him, it's like it's a little unpredictable sometimes. Where it's like, oh, that was a bad play, Josh. Like that was stupid. And I feel like it happens a little too often. Yeah, Brett Favre is good at comparison.
Yeah. I think there's still some of that in Josh still.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, the growth that he's taken from, year 1 to year whatever this is, year 5 or whatever, it's been crazy. So I'm not trying to dog him, but I do think that there's still some times where you just kind of leaves a lot to be desired.
Right.
McDermott sometimes makes some coaching decisions that leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
Listen, I just would slow down. I just think that everybody was basically crowning the Bills, the Super Bowl champions in week 2. Like let's slow down.
Right.
Let's see this team over the course of a full season. And listen, Miami's really good too. Miami's a good football team. So I think I think that game was more about Miami proving that they're really a good football team.
Yeah.
I think Miami proved that there isn't that much of a difference between them and the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I worry about 2 in the playoffs, but
I do too.
But also, the way McDaniels he schemes that offense, Tua doesn't do much. Throw a screen pass correctly, hit him on a slant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Miami and the Bills are the cream of the crop in the AFC East, and they're both going to the playoffs. So I expect the Bills to kind of get them back when they go back to Buffalo. And then the Bills, to me, are the better team for sure. But, I just don't think they're these world beaters, these, head and shoulders above the rest type of team. I think, they might be the best team in football, but it's not like a clear cut, best team in football.
And I would argue, just looking on paper, I would argue if the Bills are that much better than Miami. I mean, outside of the quarterback position,
right?
Outside of the quarterback position, which is obviously trumps anything. But I mean, if you look at receivers, I think the Dolphins have better receivers than.
Oh yeah, the Dolphins have. I mean, you could argue the Dolphins have the best 1-2 punch in the league.
I love Stephon Diggs, but Tyreek Hill is great. Tyreek Hill is a Hall of Famer. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
So is Stephon Diggs. Diggs will be.
He will be.
Yeah.
You think Diggs is on? You think Diggs is on Hill's level?
Yeah, I do.
I don't. Tyreek Hill. Hill.
Listen,
I won't say a bad word. Listen, I get it. He's not exactly Mr. Congeniality, and you don't want him necessarily to date your daughter per se, or parent your child, I should say. But listen, Tyreek Hill is amazing, bro.
He is.
And Waddle's a beast.
That's what I say. Jalen Waddle. Listen, Gabe Davis is not Jalen Waddle. No. I like Gabe Davis, but he's not Jalen Waddle.
And Dawson Knox is not Mike Gesicki. I know Gesicki's not a blocker. I get it, but Gesicki's a beast too.
One hand.
Listen, man. At least offensively, the Dolphins might be better.
They have the weapons to match up. I mean, the quarterback play is just Josh Allen's just way better.
Tua's just not.
Yeah,
Tua's not that guy.
And that matters. That matters. Yeah,
it absolutely does matter.
Yeah,
I could decide a whole. Sometimes these games, everybody wants to talk about schemes and defense and this, that, and the other. Sometimes it comes down to my quarterback versus your quarterback.
Sometimes, yeah.
At the end of the day, sometimes it comes down to, hey, I got Dan Marino and you got Jeff Garcia. I got Tom Brady and you got a stiff, whatever.
Or I got Eli Manning and you got Tom Brady. Fan of Eli. Sorry.
The Florida Marlins of the NFL.
Yeah.
Fucking Giants.
It's so true. It's so true.
What else stood out to you in week 3?
Eagles, Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate for sure. I didn't expect him to be this good this year. Obviously I didn't expect the Eagles to be this good, but Jalen Hurts, there was a lot of question marks going into the season. I didn't watch much of him. So, I know him from a fantasy football perspective. He racks up points because he can run the football. And that's really all I knew about him because I didn't really watch much of him, but he's really impressive. And I'm really impressed with what I see with Jalen Hurts. And, the NFC is wide open. And I think right now the Eagles are kind of making their stamp as the front runners right now.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are clearly the best team in that division. They might be the second best team in the conference.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done.
They're only on the team right now. I know it's early, but that means something.
Yeah. Listen, he's taken the next step as a quarterback. It's interesting, right? I know you don't watch college football, but it's interesting. In college, Tua was the better quarterback. I don't think anybody that watched college will tell you Tua probably was a better quarterback in college. But it's going to be funny that now in the NFL, Jalen Hurts is going to be the better quarterback in the NFL than probably Tua is. So it's just funny how those things. It's funny how those things work out.
Justin Herbert too.
I hated, bro.
Everybody was low on Herbert.
Glorious. I was brutal to Justin Herbert. I was.
Everybody was. I remember that draft. Everyone was talking about Herbert being a bust.
And I was down on Tua too. I hated both of them. I was like, both of those guys, I was just not impressed with. And I watched a lot of them in college. That shows you what the hell I know. That shows you what a lot of people know. Sometimes it's just a crapshoot, man. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But I just think that Jalen Hurts is really taking the next step. I think Sirianni's proven that he's a solid head coach.
Yeah.
They've, Howie Roseman. Listen, Howie Roseman gets a lot of shit by Eagles fan. He could GM my team any day.
I agree.
He can GM my team any day of the week.
When the Eagles have down years, they turn it around really quickly. Really quickly.
They know what they're doing. They have a smart operation there.
Yeah, they're hardly bad for a long time. They might have a down year, but after that, it's like they'll turn it around and they'll be competitive the next year.
The biggest thing you could say on Howie Roseman is what? He didn't give McNabb better receivers during his prime. Okay, that you could get him on that. What, the Chip Kelly debacle? Okay, you could shit on him for that.
In the beginning was successful. Like Nick Foles was a god under
under
Chip Kelly for a little bit. So
Listen, I mean, I think you could criticize any GM for a lot of different things, especially a guy that's been at the job for so long. But the way people talk about him, like, listen, I have Eagle friends that are Eagles fans or whatever, and I just think that the way they talk about Rose, he's a bum, he's been there for too long, blah blah blah, get him out of there. I'm like, listen, that guy could GM my team any day.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's a hell of a GM.
I agree.
And his talent evaluation, he constantly keeps that team competitive, good, solid.
Right.
You know, I get it. He'll have a year or two in there in between where he's, it's questionable. And even their worst years, they're not even like terrible.
No, they're a tough out. I mean, always. The Eagles have been competitive ever since the McNabb years, even when they've, had down years.
Since Russell's been there, they're competitive.
Always bounce right back. Always
been competitive.
Yeah,
a couple years here and there towards the end of the Andy Reid regime. A couple years here,
But even like that, I mean, the McNabb years, then you had Michael Vick. They were competitive with Michael Vick. They're competitive with Nick Foles. They're competitive with Carson Wentz. They're now competitive with Jalen.
Kevin Cobb. Remember Kevin Cobb? They were competitive then.
And it's not like they had like one steady quarterback throughout this whole time to keep them afloat. Like the Steelers, it would Roethlisberger. The Giants, it would Eli. Like he had to constantly adapt, and change the identity of his team. So yeah, I agree with you, man.
Yeah. Listen. He ain't GM my team any day, but yeah, I think the Eagles got it going, man. I think they're 3-0. You can make the case they're the second best team in the conference.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think the Eagles have definitely impressed me. I think the thing that stood out for me, I think the Jacksonville. I'm calling it right now. If this was the dime hot take of the week, hot take of the year, God damn it, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win the AFC South. Book it, September 27th, 2022. I'm putting out there right now.
It's booked.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win that division.
What will the record be, though? Will it be over 500?
They will go 10-7.
Ooh, okay. I was expecting 9-8. But okay, 10-7. Win the division.
I'm leaning towards 9-8, but I'll go 10-7 just for effect.
Okay. They have a last.
You can't ding me if they don't go 10-7 and they win the division 9-8. Don't ding me. They still win the division.
If they win the division, I'm not gonna hold your feet to the fire with the record.
To the listeners and to the viewers, I'm like, don't shit on me,
right?
Because listen, I think Jacksonville. Listen, it's amazing. Another guy that people shit on, Doug Peterson. He's a bum. He ruined the court. Guy won a Super Bowl, beat Belichick and Brady. Coughlin gets credit for beating Belichick and Brady, but somehow Doug Peterson is a bum. I never understand it. Doug Peterson. Listen, I get it. He's not Vince Lombardi, maybe, but hell, he's a hell of a coach. And I was in the minority. I was screaming to Jet fans like, "Yo, listen, hire Doug Peterson. The guy's good with young quarterbacks.
Right.
It's good offense, good coach.
Right.
I know the things they did well in Philly, but I think that was more of a personality clash and locker room issues with Carson Wentz and him and Rose, whatever.
Right.
The guy could coach.
Yeah.
And look at the difference that he's made so far in 3 games this year with Trevor Lawrence. Like it's miles and miles better.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm calling her, and the way they beat up the Chargers.
Also Justin Herbert cracked ribs.
I know Justin Herbert was hurt. I know Keenan Allen was out. I get all that, but 38-10 is 38-10.
That's true. It's still hard to win games in the National Football League, and the Jaguars last year would have probably lost that game 13-10 or something like that. So, yes. So shout out to the Jaguars for sure. I mean, they play the Eagles, and we were just talking about the Eagles next week. Eagles Jaguars. That's going to be a great game. Which I never thought I'd say that sentence, but it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, man, I'm bullish on the Jaguars, man. I think they've got a shot, bro. I agree. I really, really, really do. I think the other thing that stood out to me, the Steelers are not going to go anywhere with Mitch Trubisky as the quarterback. And obviously, I'm not breaking any news, but they need to make a quarterback change now.
Yeah, I don't know why Tomlin's so stuck on it, man. I thought we were going to see it in Cleveland last.
He's old school. He's very old school about it.
I know, but Tomlin also there's a reason why he hasn't finished below 500. He will make those moves. He will make the adjustments necessary, and he's also old school, but he's also no nonsense. You know what I mean? He's not someone who's going to put up with shit, and he's not someone who's going to stand for what Trubisky brings. Especially
a lot of NFL coaches, especially coaches in that era that Tomlin kind of comes from. Not saying that he's super old, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
they look at the NFL season in like quarters, right? The first 4 games are a quarter, then 8 games is a quarter, then 12 games, and then so on and so forth. I think they were just kind of waiting to get to that first quarter of the NFL season, 4 games. Yeah. I think they were going to give Trubisky 4 games and just say, listen, just don't be a disaster. And to be fair, he hasn't been a disaster, but he's Mitch Trubisky. He's limited. You're only going to get so much with him.
See, to me, like disaster is like Nathan Peterman when he came in for the Bills at one time
was a disaster. Yes.
Yeah, but like you can also be a disaster by like not moving the football. It's just like the turnovers aren't there. Like you're not going anywhere. Like you're stuck. You're just stuck. You're stuck in park. You're not being neutral because you're not going anywhere. That's a disaster as well. It's just a different type of disaster. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if Kenny Pickett comes in the second half and destroys the Jets, and then Kenny Pickett dominates the AFC for the next 20 years. And everyone looks back at the Jets game, similar to what Brady. Oh man, it's okay.
Oh my God, like Joe Beningo says, the pain.
This is Trubisky's last game. You better take advantage of it. That's all I'm saying. It's the Jets.
No, we won't. It's Mr. Trubisky. We barely could beat. What's his face? Jacoby Brissett. It took a fluke of all flukes to beat Jacoby Brissett.
It's true. It did.
Listen, I'm not hanging my hopes on that. Listen, if you're a bettor watching right now, take the Steelers. Take the Steelers. And bet the over. Just put it out there. Bet the over. Nah, man. I just think that. Listen, I was just watching a lot of that Thursday night football game last week, and I was just like, they're not going anywhere with Trubisky, man. They're just not. Obviously, it's not breaking news to anybody. Anybody that's watched Trubisky for 5 minutes knows that. But I just think it was really like because even with TJ Watt out, that defense is still pretty solid.
Yeah,
they just need a chance, man. They just need an opportunity, and Trubisky's not going to give them that.
No, he's not whatsoever.
No, he's not. The AFC is not as good as I think people made it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little more.
It's 3 games. I don't
think there's not a great team this year in the National Football League. I think that's part of it as well. I think you could always point to the Patriots and the Colts when Manning was there, and you always had like that sort of team and maybe like their rival of some sort. Mm-hmm. You don't have that this year at all. I think that's why some people are kind of anointing the Bills that because they kind of feel like the need to have that, but we don't have that this year. The Chiefs are good, but they're not like what they were a couple of years ago. The Ravens aren't, they're very Lamar Jackson heavy, and I think he can lead them, deep into the playoffs, but it's mainly because there's not another team there that's just dominant. There's not a dominant team this year.
I agree. But that you remember all the offseason talk. Wow, the AFC is going to be the greatest conference ever. Yeah. You might as well not even try. If you're the Jets, why even bother spending money in free agency? You're never going to make the playoffs. Deshaun Watson, all the quarterbacks.
Denver's been disappointing. Denver's been disappointing. Cincinnati's been disappointing.
The AFC West is very disappointing. The Raiders.
Chargers have been, yeah. And the Colts, Titans, like all the good teams, everyone thought that we're going to be good. Like they've been trash.
The NFC North. I mean, anybody scared of the Ravens?
No. Vegas hasn't won a game.
Exactly. Think about that. Yeah. I think what we've seen is that and that's what makes the NFL so great, right? It's just the parity in the league.
Yeah.
Outside of the Jets who lose to everybody by double digits.
Right.
You have a shot week in and week out.
Yeah.
That's what makes the NFL so great. That's what makes it the sport of all sports, right? Because every team, every year you feel like you have a shot. Every game, any given Sunday. See, it's just the parity in the league is what makes it special. Everybody basically wrote off the Patriots, and you can make the argument the Patriots should be 2-1 right now.
Yeah.
Or they are 2-1, I should say.
Are they
2-1?
No,
they're 1-2. Okay, yeah, they're 1-2. You can make the argument they should be 2-1. So I mean. Even the Falcons have won a game. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that what this weekend showed is I think that there's definitely not a great team in the NFL.
Yeah.
The Bills have the highest upside, but even the Bills, like, I still think there's a lot of question marks with the Bills right now.
I agree. Yeah, this is the type of year we get a 5 seed from the NFC winning the Super Bowl.
Not be surprised. Would not be surprised for sure. Would not be surprised.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on the Sunday night football game? Are you finally seeing the fruits of Russ cooking?
What fruit? In full effect? He doesn't use fruit when he cooks.
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
There's no filet mignon with Russ cooks. It's more like hamburger helper.
First of all, I can't believe the Niners lost that game. I feel like they were the better team for a large part of that game. So I don't know how they lost. That's first of all. Second of all, I mean, we talk about the AFC and disappointment. Like the Broncos, to me, are the most disappointing team in the AFC. I put them over. They're 2-1, and it's like you're disappointing just for the simple fact that I expected way more from this offense. I expected way more from Russell Wilson. And, I'm not going to say that he's not what I thought he was. He's in a new system with Nathaniel Hackett. He's bringing over a system from Green Bay that may not fit Russ. And you saw Russ in the last drive. Like, he was Russell Wilson. He was scrambling and making things happen. Maybe some sort of way to get him out of the pocket and I don't know what Nathaniel Hackett has to do.
I also think the 49ers defense was very tired by that point too.
I think so as well. That's true. That is true. But
it is what it is though.
Yep. It's weird. It's weird calling a 2-1 team disappointing, but Russ is not cooking. He's cooking cereal right now. He's cooking cereal.
Yeah. Let Russ cook. Yeah, man. I have not. I mean, even this game that they won, it's just like the last drive. Yeah, the last drive was good.
Even if they won that game in Seattle, they'd be 3-0. We'd all be like, ugh.
Yeah, that's why you got to watch the games, man. Sometimes, that's why you got to watch the games. Does anybody feel confident about the Broncos right now? Yeah. Listen, I'll go out and I don't want to be a hot take machine in this game. That's not what I do, but yeah. Russ looks cooked. He looks like the one that's cooked. He looks shot, man. He does not look like the same guy. And I don't want to like declare it like, oh, Russell Wilson will never be another top flight quarterback again. I don't want to go out on a limb and say that, but he does not look like the same guy. Again, part of it it's 3 games. Part of it could just be the new offense, new coach, new system, adjusting, new city, blah, 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 blah. I get it. Yeah. But yeah, I can anybody sit there, even you Russell Wilson stands out there, that can you plant your flag right now and say that you've seen enough from Russell Wilson now through 3 games to make you feel like, oh, well, yeah, it's just only a matter of time that he's just going to figure it out and he's going to be the Russell of old, right? The guy that was barred from cooking in Seattle. Like, I have not been impressed with what I've seen. Nathaniel Hackett looks like he's overwhelmed. Yeah. Yeah. And the defense has played okay.
Defense played really good, man. I think
more good. You're right. They've been really good. That defensive coordinator looks like he's going to be the next kind of hot defensive coach.
Yeah, I think that first half in Seattle when Geno Smith looked like Tom Brady, that it was kind of disappointing. I didn't expect that, but from the second half on,
they dominated that game.
Yeah, dominated that game. Yeah, I mean they gave up 10 points. I mean, listen, I know Jimmy G is not Tom Brady, but 49ers have weapons, man, and they scored early in that game. They put up 7 pretty quickly. So to hold them 3 points the rest of the game is really impressive.
And the 49ers, listen, a lot of people make a lot of, typical Jimmy G. I got to give the 49ers a little bit of they're just getting Kittle back. Garoppolo didn't play. He didn't play the entire, this is essentially his preseason. I'm not trying to make excuses for him.
Right.
But I think the 49ers will be fine. I didn't see anything from the 49ers that would deter me from still picking them to be the cream of the crop in the NFC. But yeah, I just think the Broncos have just looked. I've never seen a team be over 500, tied for first in their division. That looks so unimpressive.
It looks so bad.
So, whatever. What did you make of the blow up on the sidelines between Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy?
Just competition. Yeah, I don't look too deep into it, man. Eric Bieniemy is one of the most respected coaches in the league. I think Patrick Mahomes has a great deal of respect for him. Honestly, on that particular argument, I was kind of with Patrick Mahomes on that. It's like, I'm fucking Patrick Mahomes. We've had the most high-powered offense in the past few years, in the NFL. What do you mean we're going to just take it into the locker room? Let's try to put up 3. Let's try to put up 6. I would have been frustrated if I was Patrick too. And I think, it's just a healthy disagreement, and it happens all the time.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Saints have the same issue that the Steelers have, man.
Saints
you're not going anywhere with Jameis Winston.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about the Saints. They're a bad football team with him at the helm.
They have everything else. That's the crazy part about it. They have everything. They literally have everything else except quarterback.
Yeah. With Jameis, what disappoints me about Jameis is that even when he throws interceptions, he still puts up points somehow. Like, he'll have 3 interceptions in the game. He'll still have 3 touchdowns, and he's not.
He's AJ Burnett, bro. He'll give up 7 runs and strike out 15.
But he's not striking out 15 this year. He's putting up 7 runs.
Jameis is just. I would hate watching Jameis as my quarterback every week because he's so frustrating. There's times where you're just like, man, he makes that great throw and then it's like an interception. Like, why? Yeah. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? Right. So the Saints have the same problem the Steelers do. Until they get the quarterback situation squared away, they're not going anywhere. They're going to finish 9-8.
Yep.
8-9.
I don't think 9-8, man.
Just because of the quarterback.
7-10.
That division is still that division alone will help them win some games. But other than that, yeah, I think they just have the same issue. Listen, I know this is an unpopular opinion. I would just can you be any worse with Taysom Hill at quarterback?
No, because I think Taysom at least adds this dynamic where it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, we're stopping the run. Are we stopping him running? You could add an RPO. Well, you could add a lot of things with Taysom Hill that would at least make you less predictable. And Taysom probably takes care of the football better.
He's a playmaker.
Yeah.
He's dynamic with the ball in his hands. Like,
yeah.
To me, I would just give Taysom Hill the rock, let him be the starter, and just say, listen, even if we've got to adjust our offensive game and our playbook to fit Taysom Hill, and that's what the hell we're gonna do.
Right.
It was like, what are you doing? You're not going anywhere with Jameis Winston. You're just throwing the darts at the wall and seeing what sticks, and it's like it's not sticking. It's like you're not accomplishing anything with this guy.
Right.
You know what he is. Everybody knows what Jameis Winston is.
Yeah, I mean the Saints. They'll be looking for a quarterback next year for sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
They'll be right there with the Giants. They'll be right there with the Giants.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the Cowboys. Listen. Everybody basically wrote off the Cowboys after Week 1, and listen, 2-1. Second place in that division. The defense has played really well. The offense, it's Cooper Rush is undefeated as a quarterback. Is there a quarterback controversy in Dallas?
No, there's no quarterback controversy. But Cooper's smart, man. He knows his limits. He knows himself, and the defense has played well. And Cooper's not going to lose you the game, and he's going to make the play that he needs to make. He's going to make the throw that he needs to make. I was shocked as hell when they got the ball first and goal from the 1 that they threw that fade to CD Lamb. It's like, you have your backup quarterback. You're going to trust them to do it, but they did, and CD made a hell of a catch. So they have confidence in Cooper, and I think he's doing what a backup quarterback should do. Not mess up the game, manage it, and hope your defense pulls it out for you. And I think the Cowboys will be okay. That division sucks. So they got Washington twice, they got the Giants one more time. I think that he can hold water there. Yeah.
It's just funny how we basically all wrote off the Cowboys after Week 1. I mean, they did look bad, but listen, hey, they've managed to win some games, and Cowboys are still they have at least a mirage that, hey, once we get Dak back, we've played this well without him, we get Dak back, hey, we'll be right there. Which struggling team would you be more concerned about? Raiders? In the AFC, Raiders, Bengals, Colts, or Chargers?
Not the
Bengals, Chargers, Raiders, Colts.
It's between the Raiders and the Colts for me. I'll probably say, man, I'll give me the Colts just because Matt Ryan's old. I don't really know what you're getting from him, and it kind of just seems like they're recycling the same team over and over again. Last year was Carson Wentz. The year before that was Phil. Like, you're just kind of recycling just quarterbacks at the end of their rope. They don't. I mean, even when they won last week, to me, it was just more just the Chiefs themselves looking discombobulated. So to me, I Colts by slim margin. The Raiders worry me because you had Devontae Adams. You're supposed to have this. Derek Carr is supposed to be better this year, and he seemed to kind of like regress a little bit. The simple fact that I feel like he's relying too much on Devontae Adams, and they should be scoring more points to me. Like, they should be better than that. Offense should be way better than what they performed so far. So
I would go with the Raiders.
Yeah,
I'd be really concerned with the Raiders, man.
Yeah,
I've not been impressed with them. I was me or Josh McDaniels. Listen, Bill Belichick, bro. All these coaches owe their life to Bill Belichick, bro, because he's put more food on the table for guys that are just mid to below average coaches. Like, Josh McDaniels is another one. He failed miserably in Denver, had a chance to get the Colts job, then did some sucker shit.
Yeah,
went back to New England. Now he's got the Raiders job, and he's failing miserably again. Some people, it's amazing how if you're of a certain complexion, you could still fail up in life. It's amazing.
His reputation is like, it's almost like he got a reputation without deserving the reputation. Like,
he's an offensive guru. No, he's not. He had Tom Brady, greatest quarterback ever, but he's an offensive guru. What?
It's like how did you get that reputation? And for him to get a second chance is kind of it's baffling to me.
Eric Bieniemy can't get a job,
right?
But Josh McDaniels somehow gets 3 jobs.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'd be worried, bro. I'd be worried. I didn't even love that team to begin with. And then you add Josh McDaniels. I mean, Derek Carr. I love Derek Carr, but no more excuses now for Derek Carr. No more excuses now. You got a quarterback, you got the receiver, you got a good running game, your defense is improved. Like no more excuses now.
He looks bad.
And again, I'm a Derek Carr. I've been a Derek Carr truther. I've been a defender of Derek Carr throughout his career. I think he's a better quarterback than people give him credit for. But like, I can't defend this. 0-3. You got one of the best receivers, arguably the best receiver in football. Again, I know it's just 3 games. You could come back from 0-3, but statistically, a lot of teams that start 0-3 don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, it's time. It's time.
And a lot of, Derek Carr, like I wasn't one to think that like he could do more, but like he hasn't really been asked to carry a team offensively. He's kind of been, I think, a level up from a game manager. Like he's not typically a game manager. He'll make the throws. He'll make hard throws when he has to. He only throws for like 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns a game. And I think a lot of people are expecting him. Well, now you got Devontae Adams. You bring back Hunter Renfrow. You got Darren Waller, who's healthy. Like you should be throwing like for a little more, for more yardage, more touchdowns. And we haven't seen that from him. And it's almost like, so this is, it doesn't matter what kind of weapons you have. Like this is kind of what you are. And it's kind of disappointing because he's good. He's solid, but I thought there was another level.
He's a good and I'm not gonna say it's all his fault, but like, they've been very unimpressive.
I thought he had another level.
Maybe. I mean, this is a guy that you could argue before he got hurt could have won an MVP.
Right. Yeah. That same year once did.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? That one
how those 2 quarterbacks, their careers have just. I think Carr's recovered some, but I would say some. He's recovered a lot, but it's amazing how they were on a trajectory, then they got hurt, and then they've never quite been able to kind of get back to that trajectory.
That's funny. Yeah,
it's amazing to me. But I'd be worried about the Raiders, man. The Colts. I'd be with you on the Colts, but even though I've been down on Frank Reich, I still think Frank Reich's a really good coach. I think he's better than the stiff in Las Vegas, and I think the division helps them. I know I just went on a limb and said the Jaguars are going to win the division, but I still think that division is weak. I think that the Colts should still have the talent advantage overall.
Right.
And I think the Colts will be fine. I think that at the end of the day, they'll still be in that division race somehow or another.
Right.
So that's why I'm not like overly concerned. The Bengals. I think the Bengals will be fine. Listen, they had their get right game. They got the Jets. So, I think the Bengals will be fine. The Bengals will be fine. All gas, no brakes, baby. I think the Bengals will be fine. The offensive line is still a concern, but I just think that I really do think that a lot of the issues with the offensive line is I think that you have to make adjustments to it. Listen, if your offensive line is not great at pass protection and keeping Joe Burrow upright, then Joe Burrow as a quarterback, you got to make adjustments. You got to get rid of the ball quicker. Zach, what's his face? The coach of the Bengals, Zach Taylor. I always forget his name. Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor. You've got to make some adjustments, man. Your offense, you got to simplify the playbook a little bit. Get those quick passes, screen passes, run the ball more. You got Joe Mixon, and they don't run the ball enough.
But Joe Mixon's like running in like that line, man. They can't block for him. I mean,
true. That is true.
That is true, man.
That is true. That is true. But I still feel like they don't utilize Joe Mixon nearly enough in the running game as they should. Yeah. And P-Ryan's not a bad backup running back either. So, I think they should run the ball more. I think they should keep the pressure. I think they just need to get the ball out of Burrow's hands more. I think that Burrow kind of listen. He's spoiled. He's got 2 great wide receivers, 3 really good wide receivers. I think he kind of falls in love with his wide receivers a little bit too much. Yeah, and I think that he can just sit there and holds on to the ball for 45 seconds and thinks, okay, I'm going to make this play because I got Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or whatever. It's like, no, you got to get the ball out of your hands quick, especially when you got an offensive line that's completely compromised like they are. So, but I still think those are adjustments that you can make, and I trust Zach Taylor to make them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I'm not worried about the Bengals either. I think they beat the Dolphins this week coming up at home. And that kind of, I don't say throws everyone's opinion on the Dolphins on a tailspin, but I think it kind of just marks the fact, all right, we're back. So I'm interested. This Thursday night game is really fun, but I think the Bengals are gonna be fine too. They had a disappointing start, but they'll be fine.
Are the Packers back to being the Packers?
No.
No, not beating Tampa.
No. Tampa was missing like their 1 through 4 wide receivers. You bring Cole Beasley, off the side. Like, come on. I mean, no.
That's true.
I'm not sold. Tampa has not looked good this year. They haven't.
Brady hasn't played well either.
Brady has been bad this year. Very bad.
Brady feels like he'd rather be anywhere.
He hasn't been good. He's been very pedestrian. He hasn't been bad.
Brady feels like he'd rather be anywhere but Tampa right now.
Yeah.
Playing. He'd rather be on that yacht with Giselle trying to save his marriage. Because Tom probably realizes like the dating pool is trash. So he's just like, yo, even at my age, being Tom Brady, worth for $500 million, whatever, the dating pool is trash. I can't lose my wife. I can't lose my family. He's just like, yo, listen, I need you bums to get it together so I can win, go home. I think Tom just is like, he's like Adam Sandler in the movie Click. He's just trying to fast forward this shit as much as possible.
Right.
Get to February. Hopefully he's in the Super Bowl.
And that's it. It's over. I don't even know why he came back, man. Why'd you come back? If this is what you're going to be like, why'd you come back?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, listen, I think I think the demise of Green Bay was greatly exaggerated. I still think they got a good team. I think their defense is actually better. To me, I just think they have to change the way I think they have to change their offensive identity. I think Rodgers to Devontae Adams, I think obviously that no longer could be the case. I think they need to run the football, run it down your throat.
You got 2 great backs. I won't say great, but you have 2 good backs. You have 2 backs.
Really good backs, right? Run the football, run it down people's throats, and when you get a little break in the defense, play action them to death.
Yeah.
And you still got Rodgers, who's still great. Say what you want to say about him, but he's still very, very good.
Right.
I just think that they've got to adjust the way they play. They got to adjust their identity. And I think if they could do that, I still think defensively, I think they're better. I think they'll still be Green Bay is going to be there at the end.
Yeah.
It's just, can they get over the hump?
I don't think they can, man. They don't have enough offensively, which is a weird thing to say for an Aaron Rodgers-led football team, but they just don't move the football well. I mean, even last game against the Bucs, they won that game. But I mean, typically, if the Bucs had anybody there to help Tom Brady, I think they lose that game. They didn't do anything special to win that game. It's just the Bucs couldn't get over the hump.
That's true.
So
that is very true.
Yeah,
that is very true. I still think at the end of the day, the Bucs are going to be, not the Bucs. I think the Bucs will definitely be there too, but I think the Packers will be there at the end of the day. I mean, they said, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got 2 good running backs. Their offensive line is still an issue, but
yeah, I still take the Niners over them. I take the Bucs over them. I'll take the Rams over them still. I know a lot of us are forgetting about the Rams.
I'm not. Yeah, I still got to see more on the Rams, and I promise this isn't a Stafford hate thing. Like I'm off that.
They haven't looked like themselves this year. Yeah.
Although this week they looked a lot better, but still.
But I think that's more about Arizona, man. Arizona's a mess.
Yeah, Arizona's not good. I'm sorry, Arizona's not good. No, I just, it's hard for me to imagine the NFC being up for grabs and the Packers are not in the discussion at least.
Right.
I still think at the end of the day they'll be there. Now, listen, they may be on the road this time around. I'm not saying they're just going to go 13-3 or 14-3 or whatever the hell they went.
Yeah.
But I still think at the end of the day, I still think they're going to win that division because I don't trust the Vikings. I mean, even this week, they had a great performance after a shitty game on Monday Night Football last week. Like, Vikings are just never know what the Vikings.
This year's been a lot of like, oh man, I thought that team would be better. Like about like 10 different teams.
For real, man. How much of that you think is just the lack of preseason and preparation?
I think a lot of it is, man. A lot of these players don't play in the preseason at all. You need some time to get into a game and warm up a little and like get used to like your new teammates. If you have any offensive lines, like if you have a new, if you have new, like the Bengals, for instance, like they have a whole new offensive line. Like you can't expect them to kind of just click right away. That's one position or one asset of a team that like needs to function as one. Aaron Rodgers didn't, you lose Devontae Adams and, you still had Alan Lazard, but now you're throwing to like Dubs and you're like, it's just how do you expect to have any chemistry if you're not playing together in real time? So I think a lot of it has to do with that, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think we've gotten through mostly everything. Yeah.
Man.
Listen. Football is football, man. At the end of the day, I will say though, it is interesting that 3 weeks in, almost 4 weeks in, this will be week 4. It's not been a lot of separation. Outside of the Eagles, basically dominating everyone on site. I think right now it's been pretty.
It's parity, man.
Parity, man. That's the NFL, man. Thing. That's what other sports dream of. Parity. Every team can beat every team on any given Sunday.
Love it.
Yep. Well, lost in the midst of, NFL football and playoff baseball, September baseball, me, college football. I know you can't stand it. I love it, man. College football Saturday. Sign me up every day, every week. Lost in the midst of all that, a weird story came out last week that I don't think anybody kind of knew what to make of initially. Just like, oh, Udoka suspended for violating a team. And then, of course, all the details start coming out and things start getting leaked. Not leaked, but you know what I mean? Things start coming out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, whoa, this is bigger than, what initially because you hear, okay, he violated a team organizational policy or something. I'm like,
right.
At least for me, my head didn't go to what he's alleged of doing or allegedly did. I'm thinking like, okay, well, did he tamper? Did he?
What'd he do? Yeah, because
what did he do? Did he do? Did he yell at a staffer or somebody? What did he do? And then, of course, all the details start coming out, and it's just like, whoa, this is bigger than I think anybody had imagined. And Ime Udoka is suspended for a year. I want to hear your thoughts first because we haven't even talked about this offline. So I want to hear your thoughts about it first before I kind of go into my thoughts.
So first of all, I don't think he coaches a game in the NBA ever again. If I'm being honest with you, I think he's gonna resign. That's my prediction, and I don't think another team's going to pick him up. I think he's done from the league. For me, I haven't, if I'm being honest with you, man, I haven't really read a lot of the reports that are coming out just for the simple fact that it's like, I don't feel like it's any of my business, bro. Like, as long as if the first thing I read was everything was consensual. So for me, it's like, well, if everything was consensual, then like that's between him and whoever he had this consensual relationship with. If it turns out that it wasn't consensual and whatnot, and I find that out, well, then, my view changes where it's like, well, if it wasn't consensual, now there's charges and there's a legal system and, he should be held accountable for whatever he did. But like once, I read it was consensual, like to me, it's like, I'm not trying to figure out who it was. I'm not trying to figure out what like all that shit, man. Like it's just like a waste of time, and it feels very TMZ-ish. And I think the Celtics did the right thing. He violated, some guidelines within the team, and he deserved the consequences that he gets. And there's a lot of details that I'm sure we don't know about. And the reason why the Celtics decided to suspend him for 1 year was because there are probably some details that merited that suspension. So for me, it's like, I know what I know. I'm not digging too deep into it. From what I know, whatever it was consensual. Maybe, in this beginning was consensual. Maybe it turned out not to be. I don't know. I don't know. I'm really not trying to find out. I just hope that if it turns out that there was some type of force or some type of like situation where the legal action needs to be taken, that it is taken. If there isn't some type of, then it's not, and it's none of my business. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you on the point of like very TMZ-ish. I haven't read it. I read the initial stuff, and then I've seen like tweets about different details here and there, but I haven't like gone in depth. Because again, I
tuned it out, man. I'm not gonna lie. I just
here. Let me put this out on the table first before I get into my points. This is not a race issue. Ime Udoka's not being unfairly picked on because he's black compared to a white coach. I
haven't seen that.
No, but I'm just putting that out there for people that I know that run in those circles. He was a white coach. No, let's just put that out there on the table. I don't think he's being singled out, or I don't think he's being whatever. I think Ime Udoka did some fucked up shit. What level, to what degree, we'll get into it. Let me put that out there. Obviously, I think that fraternization in an organization is important, right? Especially when you have a power dynamic.
Right.
People wonder, well, what's the big deal? You had sex with a staff. Like, you have to understand from a business perspective, it's a big deal. You have the head coach. I mean, a lot of people don't understand, like, you're a head coach of a team, of a professional franchise. In a lot of ways, you are the spokesperson. Not in a lot of ways, you are the spokesperson of that organization for however long your season is in the NFL, 17 games, what essentially 4.5, 5 months.
Yeah.
7 months in baseball, like, you are the face of that franchise in a lot of regards. You are the spokesperson of that organization. And it looks terrible that you are fraternizing with an accountant or whatever, like whoever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then you throw in the power dynamic. It's a bad look, especially in the wake of Me Too. It's just, I would argue, it was always a bad look, even before Me Too, but especially now in 2022 America. Whatever you may feel about it, whatever your thoughts on Me Too and women and whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a bad look. Now, I don't have an issue with anything. The coverage has been it's left a lot to be desired because it's very TMZ-ish.
Yeah.
The nature of it's very salacious. Like, I seen something about revealing his text messages earlier or something like that. I seen the other day. I was just like, why?
I don't care about that.
Why are we? Yeah. The fact that people on Twitter, and this is what makes social media. I defend social media sometimes, and a lot of times, but I think that this is what makes people rag on social media. I mean, the fact that you got people on Twitter going through the Celtics organizational chart to find out what woman it could be. Like, come on, really, guys? Like, that's just, first of all, why the fuck does that even matter? Why is that important? Why is that even pertinent to the to compare that woman to Nia Long as if like, oh, it's a gotcha. Udoka's an idiot for cheating on. Listen, Nia Long is a beautiful woman, but whether he cheated on her with a 10 or with a 2, it doesn't matter. Udoka's still an idiot. Like, yeah, it bothers me. My only issue with this, right, is if he did something as heinous as he's been accused of doing and by all accounts proven to have done, why don't you just fire him? I would think they have cause to fire him, right? He violated a team policy or an organizational policy. The Celtics' handling of all this has been very strange to me because, okay, allegedly he had a consensual, that's the key word, consensual relationship with this woman, whoever she may be, doesn't matter. And then at some point, they told him to stop, and Udoka didn't stop. Right? That's everything that's basically the summary of what I've read.
Okay.
Right? So then at that point, is it? But they were no longer having a consensual relationship when they stopped, and Udoka kept pursuing it. Right? So now has this become a harassment thing? Has this become a situation where it's an unsafe work environment? Whatever. I don't even know if that's even important.
To speculate, though. Like, that's the thing. I don't want to speculate. I get where you're coming from, though, but go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't even think that's even, it's pertinent, but it's not really to the conversation I'm having. My issue is with the Celtics is I feel like the Celtics are kind of trying to have it both ways. Look at us. We took action. We responded by suspending this coach. But then it's like people like me, I'm like, well, if it's just as heinous as it's been speculated as it being, and I get it, none of the details are really all coming out. Why not just fire him and just be done with it?
Right.
The whole suspending him for a year is kind of weird to me. A, because you're suspending a coach for a year. Like, how does that even look like? It's unprecedented. We've never seen this, at least for something like this, right? I can see like suspending, Sean Payton for Bountygate. Like, that's different. But like this is different, right? Like, how does this even?
You can't
come back next June. He comes back next June. All right, guys, let's suicide. Let's go. Like, what? Like, how does that even work?
I don't think that's why I think he's going to resign, because I don't think he could come back from this. And I say that he's not going to coach again in the NBA because I don't think another team's going to take a chance on him. I don't know how you come back from this, and I see the point that you're making here now. It's like, why don't you just fire him then? Because if you know that he can't come back from this, if you know he did something that's terrible, or he abused the power dynamic that he had, then why don't you just I get what you're saying. But again, like, I'm someone where I've kind of taken a step back, and I'm like, I don't know the details. So I don't want to like make a judgment or a prescriptive, like I don't want to be prescriptive here, and the Celtics should do this because I don't know enough of the facts. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
And maybe there's a legal aspect that we're not.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't fire him because they feel like they don't have. I mean, there's no coaches union, right? I don't think there's a coaches union in the NBA.
I don't think so. They're not a part of the players union.
They're not a part of. I don't think. I don't. That's why I wanted to have somebody on about.
That's a good question.
So I don't think they're a part of the players union, but I don't know. I mean, Udoka is a former player, so I don't think so. Whatever. I'll let that question be answered by smarter people than us.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe there's a legal issue where maybe they feel like they can't fire him because they don't have cause, but I doubt that because clearly he violated a team policy, so they did suspend him. So if you had enough jurisdiction to suspend him, why not fire? My issue with the whole suspending firing thing is just like, if it is as salacious as it's been deemed to be, to me, why not fire and get him over it? Because now I think that's the other thing too. It just kind of leaves this vacuum of information where like you're left to interpret. Well, did he do this? Why did he do that? Well, did he do this? Did he do that? Why did they fire him for this? But then,
right.
and then what you're going to have also is details starting to kind of trickle out in the process, and then it's going to make the Celtics look bad. But it's like, oh wow, he did this. Wow, he did that. Right. Why don't they fire him? It's just weird. And then of course, coming off the whole Robert Sarver thing, it just I commend the Celtics for doing something. I just think that at the end of the day, I don't know what I don't know why suspend the guy for 1 year and not just fire him. And that's my issue with the whole. And I'll let you talk in a second, but that's my whole issue with the whole thing because I don't doubt that he did or didn't do what he did or did what he did is accused of doing. My whole thing is just like if it's at first I got to be honest with you, I was a little confused because I'm like if it's consensual, I get fraternization in the workplace, power dynamics and all that. But I don't know if this punishment fit that. You know what I'm saying? Like a year. Usually like a fine, hey, but we'll fine you. We'll maybe suspend you for like 10 games or whatever.
People get fired for that stuff though, man. Like all the time.
That's true. That's true.
That's one of the things people get fired for.
But this is an NBA. This is a guy. I mean, before this, his reputation was pristine. I never heard any issues with them having any other issues anywhere else, right? Yeah. So like, I don't know. That's why I'm like, okay, there's got to be more stuff coming out, right?
There's
and
something
if it's going to be worse, it's something that we don't know. And if it is something that we don't know, usually if there's something that we don't know is usually generally bad. So if it is that bad, why not just fire him and get it over with, get him out of your building and just be done with it? I don't know. You feel what I'm saying? Like I know I'm rambling a little bit, but it's like
no, I get what you're saying. And it's almost like not that they're trying to cover something up. It's almost like they're trying to discipline him in a way where it's like strict enough, but in a way where it's also like they don't have to release everything.
Right. And it's like it's still weird because it's like you're kind of covering it up without covering it up.
Right. And you're kind of taking responsibility without taking responsibility.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And then it's like, and then the other question is, okay, is the female staffer punished now? Is she fired? Is she outside? I've heard things that it was the female is involved in ownership or she's related to some. I mean, that's how crazy it's got. I've tried to stay away from that shit.
Yeah.
But like, is this person now had some disciplinary action? Because I mean, again, it's consensual, right? So that means two parties consented to a relationship, an inappropriate relationship. So if you're punishing one aspect, and I get that he's the coach, he's got the power dynamic in this, but if you're going to punish one, punish the other. How does that? They haven't released any details about that. Now, maybe they're afraid if they just release the female and they release who that is, then obviously it just opens up another can of worms that they don't want to go down to. And I get that, but I just have a lot of questions and not a lot of answers been given so far. And I think that's kind of like the weird. And I don't even have questions about the details of the relationship. I'm just like, how did they come to this determination?
Why is it a year?
Why is it a year as opposed to like, 7 games
or like firing him straight out?
Right. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And plus, like, I can't believe this is the only coach that's ever done something like this. And then the fact that like this is like the punishment.
Every one of my group chats said the same thing. That and that players and the same thing. Like, so this is what my friends speculate. It's almost like, well, he must have done something to someone that like someone must be pissed at him, or he must have crossed a line with the lady, and that's the thing.
That's the key. That's the key.
For me,
I heard the same thing too. Chris
Broussard,
Chris Broussard said that he heard the details that are not been revealed just yet. He doesn't want to put it out there, obviously, because
Matt Barnes said the same thing. Matt Barnes said the same thing. Yeah,
right. That it's worse. Well, didn't Matt Barnes come out ripping the Celtics organization first?
He did, and then he got when he ripped the Celtics organization, someone with all the details called him up and explained to him what happened. And then the next day, Matt Barnes released a video saying, "Hey, it's not my place to tell the story, but I know the story now, and I'm believing that it's true. And since it's true, I take back what I said."
And Rob Parker, my boss at MLB Bro, right? Like he's talked to people. He said that it's bad.
Have you talked to him about it?
I haven't talked to him about it. It's weird. Hey, tell me everything you know about. Like, no. So I just know that he was on The Odd Couple, and him and Chris Broussard both said that they've basically kind of done.
It seems like the media knows. It seems like the media knows and players know. It's just that everyone's keeping their mouth shut right now.
And the key is that the relationship at one point was consensual. The organization found out about it, told them to stop. The female agreed to stop. Udoka didn't. That's kind of the.
And I think a lot of people get confused. And I'm not saying this is what happened, but like things can start consensual and then end up not being consensual. Like just because you have a relationship with, like, girlfriends get raped by their boyfriends all the time. Like that's you're in consensual.
Wives get raped by their husbands
all the time. So like I think a lot of people need to recognize that, where it's like, yeah, it might have started off consensually, but it could have took a turn where like one day, Udoka wasn't. This is what I don't want to talk about, because now I'm going down a road of hypotheticals and I'm saying like scenarios I don't even want to talk about. But that's just something that I think people need to keep in mind, where it's like, sometimes things that start off consensual don't turn out to be consensual.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because it's I'm with you. I think me and you are kind of spot on this. It's just kind of going down a crazy road of just kind of, it's very TMZ-ish, like you said, right? It's very
sensitive. I don't like speculating, especially when it comes to things with like consent, because it's unfair. It's unfair to the women, it's unfair to the lady who's involved and what happened to her and her experience with it all. I think if something was not consensual, I think it's up. I think it's her story to tell if she wants to tell it or not to tell it. So for me, it's just kind of like one of those things where I just kind of I try to stay away from it, because it gets messy, especially on social media. Man, Twitter is a cesspool. The day,
it's like, come on, man. Like they're posting team staff pictures. It's just like, come on, guys. I first of all, whoever it is just it's not even pertinent to the story.
Right.
I just think, I do think though, and some of my friends have said it, that I think the coverage of it is starting to kind of get outlandish now, where it is kind of starting to become salacious and like they're revealing everything about it.
I don't even read. If I see his name, I just scroll.
And my thing with the coverage is, I'm one of those people that I like to know the who, the what, the when, the why, the how. You know what I mean? Like I like all the details. And when it's like I'm getting like the who and like kind of the what, but not everything else, it's like, well, how am I supposed to, besides like the, hey, he did something wrong, I guess I'm like, how am I supposed to really feel about this? Like, is this a good thing? Bad thing? Like, did they suspend him? That's a good thing. Yay, Celtics. Or Celtics, well, why did you fire him if it is this bad? Or you know what I mean? Like, I don't really know how to really take all of this, because it's like, well, what is this really, besides the fact that, hey, Udoka probably ruined his career.
Right.
Not probably. He most likely ruined his career.
No, he did.
Just listen, we're all human. We're all men. We've all been in a workplace where, I don't even want to go down that road, but I'm just saying, like, you got to have better judgment, especially when you're in a position of power. And it's easy for me to say, I get it, but yeah, you just got to have better judgment than that, man. And it's a shame, because he was a brilliant, terrific young head coach, black head coach at that, getting an opportunity. It feels a lot like Deshaun Watson, right? Where it's like, damn, bro, like serious. And I think that's the other thing about this too, is a guy that came well respected, well regarded. You never heard a bad word about, right? Yeah. Like there was never like, don't hire that Udoka guy. Like, And then it's like this comes out, and it's like shit. Like, and if it is worse than what we already know, then it's like fuck, bro. Like, what? What are
Yeah.
you doing? So I don't know. That's just my only thing. Is just like if it is as bad as some people seem to allude that it is, the Celtics handling of it is very weird because it's like they're kind of trying to cover it up. They're trying to discipline him without trying to drop the book on him. And if it is as simple as like, hey, we don't want him to leave the organization and go get a job somewhere else, and that's not in good faith either. Like, oh, we're afraid he goes to the Nets. So it's like, nah, that's not. That's yeah. So, hey, listen, on the annals of stories that I did not expect 2022 to be consumed by, this was not
nothing surprises me anymore, man. Nothing surprises me.
And let's talk about it from a basketball court. I know we're going to move on to NBA Media Day, but how does this impact the Celtics, man? I mean, you just lost your coach for a year.
See, the thing, the Celtics kind of like they took a while to kind of click last year, and a lot of people forget that. I mean, they were below 500 for like the first 40 games of the
year.
January.
Yeah.
And they kind of finally bought into like this defensive identity that they didn't have before. I don't think they were. I mean, there were some people saying they were like an all-time defense last year, which was one of the most ridiculous takes I've ever heard in my life. But they were a solid defense for sure. And they had this toughness to them, and you kind of have to like wonder like, is that going to leave now that Udoka's gone? How much of that toughness, how much of that grit, how much of that was Udoka keeping them focused and on point? So I'm very interested to see that because I mean the Celtics naturally don't have that. They don't have that in them because Udoka had to bring that into them. So I'm very interested to see how they adapt to that. I mean, offensively, I think they're going to be fine. But to me, it's at the defensive end. Like, how many of those principles do they carry over this year? Because if they don't carry all those principles, then they're barely above 500.
Well, the other thing about it too is again the nature of the situation where he's suspended. So technically, he's still in the organization. Technically, he's still the head coach, although he's not actively the head coach. He's still the head coach.
Yeah,
so
but
now you got this Joe Mazzulla. He's not there making day-to-day decisions and all that. I get it. He's basically suspended from the organization. I get that. But he's still there in name. You got to believe that some players are still fond of this guy, close to this guy. Now you got Joe. Now you get this kid, Joe Mazzulla, who's his first head coaching gig. If I'm a player, like, yo, am I going to listen to this guy? Maybe he's coaching a scheme or preaching something that I may not buy into. Well, Coach Ime didn't.
Right.
Not what, I mean, like, how does that? That's why, like, this whole situation is so weird because it's like, okay, well, Mazzulla, he coaches a certain different way that, Udoka does it.
And y'all went to the finals last year too. So
exactly. You know how NBA players are, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's to me interesting, man. I think a lot of teams. I think there are two teams this year that need to get off to quick starts, and I think it's the Celtics and the Lakers, just for the reason that they all have like these question marks, and they all have like this vibe around them where it's kind of like the fan bases are like in an array where it's like I don't know what to expect, I don't know what to think, and I think getting off to a fast start is essential, especially for the Celtics.
I think the Celtics were good before this all came out. Now because of this, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's really, really, really weird. Are you surprised that Brad Stevens didn't come back to coach?
No, I'm not. I don't think he wanted to coach, man. I think that's the reason why he took the position he took. I think he was kind of done with it, and he had tremendous amount of success his first year. You take teams that you pick the right coach and you build a roster that goes to the NBA Finals. So I think he likes that position. I think he's more of a Theo Epstein than he is a young prodigy coach.
The only reason I asked that question is because when you're in a situation like this where it's crisis management in a lot of ways, sometimes you kind of want that experienced voice, that guy that's kind of been there that can like, all right, guys, settle down. Like,
kind of what Pat Riley did.
I'll use the Houston Astros, right? Like a lot of people kind of credit bringing in Dusty Baker. They were in a situation where in an offseason, they lost their manager, their GM, their bench coach. Cora already left by then, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then it's like, they didn't pluck some guy from AAA, like some bullpen coach. Like they brought in Dusty Baker, a Hall of Fame manager. And it's like, okay, he kind of settled everybody down. I kind of wonder why that wasn't done. And maybe this was all just kind of out of nowhere and just kind of they just had to react rapidly, but kind of not, because if again you go back into the stories that are being reported, they found out about this in July. They did the internal investigation, so this has kind of been building. Who knows, man? And now you hear. Now I read something about that the NBA player, the Celtics players didn't find out until they found out on Twitter.
Oh wow!
Well, Tatum said that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm reading it now. That Tatum said he found out on Twitter about Udoka.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's wild out there, man. It's definitely wild. Listen, leave it for the NBA to be the league with the most soap opera drama, man. For sure. But yeah, I would say I'm sure more details will, unfortunately, I guess, will come out from all this. I guess we could wrap up with NBA Media Day. This is kind of the unofficial start of the new NBA year, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything that kind of stood out to you in the various different media circles around the country as NBA teams prepare for training camp?
I think the one thing that's not overblown, because you can overblow anything like Kyrie and Katie's comments. I don't really want to talk like that's whatever. James Harden.
That's interesting for me. That stood out for me. Like
we talk about that, but for me, DeAndre Ayton does not want to be in Phoenix, and the Suns' window is officially closed. It's over. It's over in Phoenix. It was a nice ride. Sorry to our board, Just Blaze, but it's over, man. They are not winning an NBA championship. They had 2 years to do so. The vibe is off there. DeAndre Ayton does not want to be there.
What is his gripe? Can I ask what is his gripe?
I think his gripe is that he wanted to get paid. You paid Bridges over him. He was an integral part into a team that went into the NBA Finals. He's the first pick of the draft. He's someone that you built. You didn't build. You actually kind of did build your team around him. And he wanted to get paid. He wanted an extension. He wanted to be respected. It's almost
he got
like
paid. So they matched the offer anyway.
It felt like the Suns were kind of tanking his price tag though a little bit during the season. That's what it felt like, and I could understand why he
were they though.
Though? I don't know if they were purposely. You can't prove that they were, but it felt that way to him. I think also his relationship with Monty Williams got very sour towards the end. Right. He doesn't want to be in Phoenix. I mean, the only reason why he's in Phoenix is because Phoenix matched, what Indiana was giving him. And I think it kind of made him bitter where it's like, you guys act like you didn't want me here last year. You didn't resign me. The coach and I are getting into spats. And, when I finally, decide I want to go somewhere else, you kind of bring me back in here without also not having me talk to the head coach over the offseason. There was no reconciliation at any time. So it's like, what is going on here? Why am I even here? You don't want me here. Why am I here? So I get where he's coming from.
What are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I get where he's coming. Regardless of what you think of him or not, whether you think he's worth the money or not, I understand where he's coming from.
Honestly, once Phoenix got annihilated in Game 7, I really didn't even pay attention to them or any of the drama surrounding the Phoenix Suns. So that's why I'm a little ignorant to them. I've always just wondered, like, what is his main gripe? What is his point of contention? His usage?
No, it was the fact that he did not get his contract extended when he wanted to. Bridges got extended as well. I think maybe the usage a little bit. I also think it was the vibe of the organization towards him wanting the extension and then making him feel like he wasn't worth the extension, and then him having to sign for less money somewhere else, and then only to have them match it and bring him back when he feels like they didn't even want him in the first place.
Okay,
that's what I feel.
I guess
that's how I feel. That's me speculating, but.
No. Listen, I never knew that there was this much drama surrounding a average.
Stop
center.
It. You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
It's DeAndre Ayton, man. I never knew this was this much hubbub about DeAndre Ayton and his feelings. Like, bro, like what? Okay, all right, sure. No, but I get what you're saying. And I get I get your analysis of the situation, and I would be upset too. I don't know. I just always wondered what his gripe was about. Like what is his main point of contention? And I can understand from the Suns' perspective. It's like, you can make the argument that Bridges is more integral part of what we do than say an Ayton.
Oh, no, you can't. You cannot. Well, maybe defensively.
Can you?
I don't know. No, Ayton's the better player, man. Ayton's the better player. I know a lot of people are like, well, you can insert JaVale McGee and you get the same stats. And no, like if Ayton is more dynamic offensively, teams respect him more offensively. He's a decent rim protector. I think you're undervaluing him a little bit, man. He's don't get me wrong. He's not Jokic. He's not Embiid. He's not on that level, but he's a very solid fringe all-star.
I think he thinks he's on that level, and I think that's the problem.
Okay, well, he's not on that level. I'll agree with you on that, but he's definitely not mediocre.
Because that's the vibe I get from him. I think he feels that he's on that level, and Phoenix is like, we like you. We like you. Like, we really, really like you. But you're just not on that level. And I don't know. I've always kind of felt like he feels this way about himself more than like the team does. And I think there's been like a battle of like, no, you're not really all that.
Well, how many centers are really better than him, though? You got Jokic and Embiid, and who else?
You're going to make me do this, huh?
No one else, really. Right. You consider AD a 5? No. Gobert? I guess Gobert defensively. I mean, if you take Gobert over him?
I would take Gobert over him.
I don't consider Cat a 5. Right?
I consider Cat a 5.
You take him over Nurk, you take Nurk or Ayton? I think it depends on the team.
I would. Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think it depends on the team. I think I would take Nurk because I think Nurk understands his role. Like, I think Nurk is more accepting of. Nurk knows what he is, and he knows what he's doing. I don't think Ayton knows that. Like, I think Ayton would. Like, I think Ayton would be one of those guys that would go to like Indiana and put up a lot of empty calories, like a lot of empty stats. Like, he'd average 22 points a game, 10 rebounds, but like they would go 30 and 52.
Oh, he's top 5 center in the league at worst. Yeah, he's top 5.
You're gonna really make me do this. Like, I'm gonna fucking okay. All right, I'm gonna go through
Robert Williams. He's better than Robert.
I'm taking
Stop it.
No, bro. He's not. No, he's not. The only issue Robert Williams has had is
Manny, come on. I love Robert. And I love Robert Williams. He's not
defensively. Defensively,
Robert's better, but all around, I take Ayton for sure. 1,000%. Ayton's not just a dunker, man. He has a little bit of a mid range. He's more dynamic.
I get that.
He's agile. Yeah.
He's got a little Eddie Curry game in him. He's got a lot of Eddie Curry in him. Besides Wade.
I take him over Mitchell Robinson. I'll take him over Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you Mitchell Robinson there on that one.
Yep.
Okay. We're gonna go through the fucking teams, man. Okay. Lakers. Is he better than who's our center this week?
Exactly.
Thomas Bryant?
Yes.
Thomas Bryant? Yeah, he's better than Thomas Bryant. Okay.
I'm going through right now.
Is he better than Looney?
Yes. Absolutely. 100%. 100%, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is he better? We talked about Gobert. I think Gobert. I would take Gobert.
Yeah. Okay.
We talked about Minnesota. I would take Cat. Well, now Cat. Well,
Cat's a 4.
Cat's a 4 now. But before 2 months ago or 3 months ago, he was a 5.
Yeah, I'll take Cat over him.
But I'll take Cat and Gobert.
Yeah.
Over him. Who else? Valanciunas.
I got a soft spot for Jonas.
I would take Valanciunas.
Okay. I can't blame you on that.
I would take Valanciunas.
Okay.
Who else? I'm just thinking about playoff teams now. Valanciunas.
Steven Adams.
Gobert.
No.
Steven Adams. No.
No. Clippers. Who's on Zubac? No.
Zubac? Yeah, no. You know, I like Zubac. No.
Dallas now has McGee. No.
Yeah, no. He's not better than Jared Allen. He's not better than Jared Allen. You think he's better than Jared Allen?
Not defensively, no. I think he's better offensively than you think he is. I think that's our disconnect here. I think he's better offensively than you think he is.
Maybe. I'll admit that maybe I'm underrating him or underrating him somewhat. Yeah. But yeah, Jared Allen.
Miles Turner.
I'll be nice and I'll give you Aiden over Jared Allen, but not by much. Miles Turner.
Yeah.
About even. Not
Okay.
even.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. Actually, I think Miles Turner's weird because he's on a team that it's like hasn't used him correctly. But I also think part of it is his fault. He kind of seems like a little bit of a head case to me, so it's a little different.
I think they're actually very similar, really, when you think about it.
Miles can shoot the three. I mean, at least you have to. Yeah, it's he's a little different, but I think you could make the case for Miles.
Who else? Damn, I'm running out of it's so weird.
Because there's no one else, man. There's not a lot of good centers. That's my point. Like, there's not a lot of Dallas didn't have anybody really.
I don't know. This argument feels like, remember, in the post 90s era, that window. Well, no, that wasn't even a window. It was a long period. I remember remember when Ewing and Olajuwon, all the great centers of the 80s and 90s retired, and it was just Shaq and Mutombo. And then remember, people would throw this guy as a top 5 center by default because there were no other centers. That's exactly Zydrunas Ilgauskas was a top 5 center because every other great center retired. That's what it feels like with Ayton. It's he's a top 5 center by default.
But what does that really mean? Yeah, what does that really mean?
Exactly. It means that
he's top 5 tight end in the league, in the National Football League. It's that's because there's 4 good tight ends that you can.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So when you do get one that's even marginally good,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. I don't want to give Ayton that much attention.
Tell me what you think about Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Kevin Durant to me is one of the most fascinating figures in sports. I just want to get in his brain one day and just try to psychoanalyze him, right? So his whole thing is, he doesn't see his whole thesis. He gave us this big thesis for why he requested a trade, right? And he essentially feels like the nature of the organization, this topsy-turvy nature of the organization, had a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, some of the question marks with coaching, even though I don't think he said that specifically, but he thinks that, all of these things that he laid out as an issue for why he asked for a trade. And all the while I'm sitting there, this is why I can't be a member of the media, because I'd be sitting there Kevin, Mr. Durant, Mr. Best in the world. You created a lot of this.
Yeah.
That's my problem. The issues with coaching. You basically handpicked Steve Nash.
Because you didn't want to be coached.
Guys in and out of the lineup. You missed a year. Did we forget that? He came to the Nets with a torn Achilles, a repaired torn Achilles, but he missed the first year he was with the Nets.
Yeah.
Then he's had injuries galore his time there. And I get it, injuries, I get it. But it's not like he played 82 out of 82 games and everybody else around him was out. He's been out too, right? Okay, maybe that one's not even a little fair. But James Harden, they made that move in part because James Harden was your best friend that week. So you wanted him there. Now all of a sudden, James Harden's here and he's causing chemistry issues. You chose to hitch your wagon with Kyrie Irving. Listen, I love Kyrie, but let's be honest. Kyrie is fucking flighty. At best, is flighty. You know what I'm saying? So it's do you lack the self-awareness to be I did kind of bring this dude here with me, and you just never know with Kyrie. Some days he's on, some days he's not. So that's my whole thing. That's why I'm this victimhood that KD is on. I just don't get, because it's bro, they've given you this organization for you to run with, and all of the issues you have a direct responsibility on why they occurred. But somehow you're throwing your hands up and it's oh yeah, it's Steve Nash, it's this guy, it's that guy, it's this person, is that why? And it's no acknowledgement that you kind of played a role in all this.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest problem with Kevin too. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and blame him for being hurt because he's hurt. It's whatever. But yeah, I mean, you plan with Kyrie to come to Brooklyn, that was a plan, or to play together at least. He is the reason why they got James Harden. He is the reason why Steve Nash is that coach. And then you complain about Steve Nash and James Harden. It's almost the reason why they're all here, the reason why this organization is shaped the way it is in large part because of you. I think Kyrie had a hand in it as well, but Kevin Durant also had a huge hand in it. So for me, it is kind of interesting. I think his frustrations with Steve Nash during the playoff series against the Celtics. It was like, well, this is what you wanted, man. Like, you didn't want a coach that's going to have you run off of screens and in motion. Like, you wanted just kind of ISO ball, and that's what Steve Nash gave you. Yeah. And then you lost because of it.
And he didn't play well either.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Not even acknowledge that you played the worst. You've looked the worst you ever looked in your career.
Right. And I think a large part of it was because they didn't have a coach or a coach that was willing to make the adjustments, because this is the brand of basketball he wanted to play. And I'm sorry, I root for KD, man. I like KD a lot. I think he's extremely talented. He's one of the best we've ever seen. And I think he's diminishing what people are thinking about him just because of his actions outside of the court,
What more do you want? You were in Golden State. You had a golden ticket in Golden State, and that wasn't enough for you. Your ego could not handle.
Because he knew that everyone was going to credit Steph. That's what it was, man. I mean, that's really when LeBron was, in Cleveland and Miami, he was always talking about how he was number 2 and how he felt he should be number 1. And then when he won in Golden State, it wasn't good enough because he joined a 73-win team. So he figured he'd go to Brooklyn and start his own thing, but that didn't work out. He's just searching for respect. He's very insecure, and it's weird that he's insecure.
Because I think real basketball fans like you, I'm not talking about the 19-year-old shithead in his college dorm writing up articles about why James Harden is the greatest basketball player since Jerry West. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about the real nuts and bolts basketball fan like me, you and I.
Yeah.
We respect KD.
I love KD. I love his game.
We respect him. Listen, we can admit that Steph Curry is the driving force, is the engine behind the Golden State Warriors, but that Kevin Durant is important, was an integral, vital. He made them into a god.
Right.
There's no more respect that you could give a guy than saying, listen, he took a fucking Maserati and made it into a fucking spaceship.
Right.
But that wasn't enough for you? So I'm just trying to figure out it just screams of a guy. You see it. You said it yourself, right? It's just someone that's searching for respect, that's so insecure with himself that it's sad, honestly, because it's just bro, you had it searching. You had it there. If he just stayed.
The truth is that he had it in OKC. Forget Golden State. If he stayed in OKC, he would have been
true. But who's responsible for him besides Russell Westbrook? Who's responsible for him leaving? It's he's mad that he's not getting enough respect for going to a 73-9 team when you decided to go to a 73-9 team.
Right.
So it's
it's you didn't. How do you not think that through? I remember when I got that, when I saw the notification he went to Golden State, I literally said out loud, are you fucking kidding? I was so disappointed. I don't know how he didn't realize that was going to be everyone's reaction,
especially after LeBron.
Right.
He's a guy that is so insecure and really lacks self-awareness.
Yeah,
which is typical from big stars like that just kind of lack just that self-awareness to just be I sound like a dick right now. No, he's just, but it just, he's losing me.
He's someone
by the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to root for him in some sort of way because I love watching him play. When Kyrie,
I do too.
When Kyrie came back, I was kind of excited. We're going to see KD and Kyrie in the playoffs. This could get fun. A 7 seed, the Nets can actually make some. I was excited for that. And I'm a Knicks fan, but I don't root against Brooklyn. I don't have this hatred towards Brooklyn. So if they're not playing the Knicks, I'll root for them. I always watched, them on the Yes Network. They've always kind of been my second team. Tickets were cheap. It was cheaper for me to go from New York to New Jersey and go to a Nets game in the Meadowlands than it was for me to go to Madison Square Garden as a kid. So I grew up watching the Nets. I have a soft spot for the Nets. And KD to me, he has probably there's always legacy talk, and legacy talk to me kind of gets out of hand, but he has one of the most interesting careers I think of anybody ever, for sure.
Yeah, man. I don't know. He's just and now they're just in a weird situation. We talked about the Celtics or the Lakers, and I'll get to my Lakers next. We'll wrap up with the Lakers, but they're just kind of in a weird bubble right now because it's now you got Kyrie, who kind of wanted to be gone, but also wanted a contract, but kind of didn't want a contract, or at least didn't want a contract from them. or wanted them to pick up their option, but the Nets didn't want to. Secretly the Nets don't want Kyrie anymore, but they're kind of stuck with him. And now they know that they can't rid of. They still want KD, but KD doesn't want them. But they know that if they don't keep Kyrie, KD's gone. They're just in this weird. And I'm a player on that team. I'm just like, bro, are you all in? Not all in? Do you want to be here? Not want to be here? Like, what?
The whole team needs. I'm not sure if they've had it already, but they need some type of like weekend in the Poconos.
I don't even think that's going to work. And I don't even think that's going to work. And then you take all that I just laid out, right? And then you introduce Ben Simmons into the equation. How the fuck is any of this gonna? I'm sure like everybody else. I am just like got my popcorn ready, trying to figure out how all of this shit is gonna work.
Oh man,
I just don't see it. I don't.
I don't know how it's gonna work either. And I think just for the simple fact that if there's one thing these Nets have shown us, like this whole KD Kyrie tenure, is that when things go south, like there's no stability to kind of like the floor just keeps dropping.
And no accountability either. It's everybody else's fault.
Right. Well, and the people taking accountability are the people who shouldn't be taking accountability, like Steve Nash, Sean Marks. You shouldn't really be apologizing or covering up for what's really going on here.
We'll wrap up with the Lakers, but just one last thing.
Yeah.
If you're Steve Nash, why are you even taking this? Because this is kind of hurting your legacy too, right?
Like hurting your legacy, but it's kind of insulting. Like you're a Hall of Fame basketball player.
You're treating Steve Nash like he's a scrub. Yeah. Like, bro, this is fucking Steve Nash.
Right.
Like, if I'm Steve Nash, it's like, bro, I got all my money. I've got my career is set. I don't need this shit. This prima donna shit with KD and Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't want to get a vaccine. Kyrie doesn't want to play because it's his birthday or because it's, Yom Kippur next week. So he's not going to show up. Like, whatever. He's not even Jewish, but he's not going to show up. Like, it's like, I don't need this shit. If I was Steve Nash, I'd be like, look, I'm just going to go chill with my volleyball team and my daughter's volleyball team in Southern Cal, just chill and relax. I don't need this fucking shit.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know why Steve Nash puts up with this shit. Yeah. Whatever. Then the final, I guess it couldn't be any given Sunday, and it couldn't be me without talking about my Los Angeles Lakers, man. Like,
what do you think, man? To me, it's just kind of like they
I don't know what to think, bro. I honestly don't know what to think.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like whatever aspersion you put on this Lakers team, right? Whatever you think they're gonna win the title, or you think they're gonna, finish as the 8th seed, or you think they're gonna miss the playoffs, whatever. I think it hinges so much on AD. If AD is healthy, then the Lakers will perform up to their standard, whatever that standard is, right? Yeah. If he's not, then it is what it is. Like, they're just not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't even know what to make. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like as long as Russell Westbrook's on the team,
and that's the other thing too.
It's like, really low to me. Yeah. I mean, you could try to say whatever you want. You can try to pretend that there's good vibes. Pat Bev and Russell Westbrook can act like they're best friends. No. The truth of the matter is Russell Westbrook just doesn't fit with the team, and you got to get rid of him. You got to move off of him, and you got to build around AD and LeBron. You got to get players in return that are going to fit their skill set. I mean, until you do that, I mean, everything's just fluff to me. Like, I don't want to hear anything today.
But I also get not trading away future draft picks just to get rid of Russell Westbrook, because then it's like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And it's like that kind of complicates things in the future. And I understand that. If the Laker fans that are ripping it, it's like, first of all, listen, you got 1 year of this. And I don't want to see this guy on the team either. But it's like, I also don't want to get rid of him. I do want to get rid of him, but not at the expense of like trading away a 2029 draft pick. And I know people are saying, well, if you're the Lakers, why are you worried about a 2029 draft pick? You gotta manage your resources better than that. And that's why getting him in the first place was such a bad decision.
Terrible.
Because it didn't just screw you last year, it screws you this year essentially, because you can't get rid of him. No one is going to take him off your hands. No one.
Maybe at the deadline because that.
Maybe at the deadline.
Yeah.
And then just do it as a write-off. Like, you got 3 months of them, and you've already paid up most of the contract. So by now, it's just an expiring contract for us. Like maybe at the deadline, but by then it's February. Their season could be in the shitter by then.
Yeah.
So like, you've essentially just tanked 2 years because you tried this Russell Westbrook. And you know who I'm blaming? I'm not blaming Jeannie. I'm not blaming. I mean, I could blame Jeannie a little bit because she didn't wrestle control away from her franchise.
Rob.
I'm not blaming Rob Pelinka. I'm blaming LeBron. He's the GM. Bro, all of this is done because of Clutch Sports, bro. The fact that you didn't give Caruso the contract, but you gave it to the immortal, what's his face? Talon Horton?
Yeah. THT.
Remember when THT was a thing? It is not even on the team. But what is THT? He's a Clutch Sports representative. Listen, LeBron has ruined every franchise he's been a part of. He's won, but he's also ruined them, and he's left them in bad shape. The only one that he like seemingly didn't live in bad shape was the Heat, and because they had Pat Riley, and Pat Riley was too good for that shit. But everything else, he's left them in a rubble, and that's what he's doing with the Lakers, man. I can't wait for him to go. I can't wait. I am counting down the days for him to go. That's ridiculous. This is because of LeBron, bro. All of this is because I know you're a LeBron fan. I know you're a LeBron fan. But you have to admit,
I like LeBron. Yeah,
you like LeBron, but you got to admit that like all of this is LeBron's doing. They don't make that trade if LeBron doesn't sign off on it.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean it was LeBron's idea. I get what you're saying. I think LeBron has a place. I think in his head where he's like, I can make anything work. You can bring Russ. Like I think he had that in his head. I don't think it was LeBron's idea though. Which is weird because, like, the team that won the championship, well, like, it was LeBron, AD, and a bunch of, like, perimeter defenders. It wasn't, like, anyone else that was special. I mean, at times, Alex Caruso was their third best player, which is a wild thing to say about a championship team.
Josh, before you go on with your point, what did we say after the Phoenix series? I said, I don't think we should blow it up.
Right.
I think this was a tale of 2 seasons, right? A season where you were fully healthy and you were the dominant team in the league. And then you had injuries and you finished the 7th seed. So like, to me, I think with some minor tweaks, I think you bring back Dennis Schroeder, and guess what? Dennis Schroeder's back. Talk about bad negotiation.
Right.
Jeez. Dennis Schroeder's back. Like you should have just never, they should have kept Schroeder and they should have kept Caruso. Got rid of THT, traded him for whatever little value he had. Right. You still kept Kuzma. Like, you keep that team intact, make some minor tweaks here, get younger at the center position, get us a couple more shooters. I still think that team is contending for a Western Conference final spot.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the tactic. I don't understand the mindset behind what they
panic.
Do.
It's panic, man. It's panic. That's really what it was. They panicked.
But that panic comes from who? LeBron. Because it's all about LeBron. It's all about championships. It's all about
LeBron. I think the front office is like, we got a year or two left in LeBron's prime. We have to win this year coming forward. And I don't think they had the foresight to realize that they were okay.
And I think eventually, so he signed this extension too. So he's there for another 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Eventually LeBron's going to be diminishing returns. Like eventually even LeBron's going to not be able to fight Father Time.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I'm more down on the Lakers than I am even the Jets, which is crazy to say. I have no hope.
That's a horrible sentence.
That's a horrible sentence, I know, but yeah. I don't, call me in February and ask me where I think of the Lakers. And it'll probably be like, well, we should trade LeBron. He's our best asset.
Right.
Do the Warriors want LeBron? Let me know. I'll take him. Jonathan Kuminga. Oh man. Oh, that is it for AGS or Any Given Tuesday. Anything you want to share with the listeners and the viewers before we get out of here, man?
The Dime with Josh Rodriguez on Balls Life Podcast Network debuts next week. Go follow Balls Life Podcast Network. And if you want to listen to the show, the audio version, just type in The Dime with Josh Rodriguez on your favorite podcast platform.
Hey, and listen to the show. Download it. Stream it legally. Don't do none of this fake stream shit companies. If you're watching, whatever. None of this inflated stream numbers, man. We support creators out here for real.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, check out the Dime next week, dropping back one of our favorite basketball podcasts for sure. Go ahead and support our co-host here. For me, we are wrapping up the Major League Baseball season. Sadly, there is 7 games after tonight left for most teams in the MLB season. So MLB Bro, we got debatables dropping this week and next week, and then we are officially in postseason action. So go to MLBBro.com, check out all the
shout out to the Yankees
we got.
the AL East today. Clinching the AL East today. Go
Yay.
Yankees.
The Yankees are back in the playoffs. Yay.
We're Astros in 6. Astros in 5, actually.
Listen, the Yankees might not even get out of the division series, but hey, we'll save that. We'll save that for another episode. Yeah, man, go check out everything we got going on at MLBBro.com. Make sure you go like and subscribe. Everything we got going on with Den and Sports. New shows every Tuesday and Thursday night, only on YouTube. And thank you for supporting this show. If you like the show, leave a review, drop a review, go follow us, go subscribe to anywhere where you can find podcasts, drop a review of what we're doing. If you like what we're doing, keep supporting, leave a comment. YouTube videos, leave a comment, a review, all that good stuff. I'm rambling. I know it's been 2 hours. Sorry. But, y'all know what to do, man. Support the show any way you can. Reviews, subscribing, downloading, sharing, telling your friends, your friends, all that. Go support the show. And, with that, I'm Manny Brown, Josh Rodriguez. This has been Any Given Sunday / Tuesday. We're out of here. Peace.